Chapter 101. The person is as old as his heart has aged. With his abilities, Gu Dongtu could easily find Fang Yuan's residence. He was wearing the Gu master's uniform which he rarely wore, he had leg wrappings around his legs and was wearing a red belt around his waist. Everything was neat and clean, and gave off a faint feeling of majesty. He looked at Fang Yuan who was slowly coming over and his line of sight fell on the latter's belt, deep emotions emerged in his heart. Only C-grade aptitude but he has already broken to rank 2 at 16, it is truly surprising. I really don't know how he succeeded. However, this quick speed should be mostly attributed to the liquor worm. Pity that liquor worm has no use at rank 2. Following that, he saw the faint smile hanging on Fang Yuan's mouth. This smile made Gu Dongtu's heart chill. Anger rushed through his mind, this kid acts so calm, does he think he has me trapped within his palm? Fang Yuan slowly walked over and stopped in front of Gu Dongtu, he knew the latter was definitely here for him. Sure enough, Gu Dongtu opened his mouth, Fang Yuan, I think we can have a talk. What do you want to talk about? Fang Yuan slightly frowned. Gu Dongtu laughed but then talked of another thing, do you know, I was the same as you, I became a Gu master when I was 15. It was right at the time of Wolf Tide, there was a large number of casualties and we, students, also had no choice but to fight. I had B-grade aptitude, I reached rank 2 initial stage at 16, upper stage at 17 and peak stage at 18. When I was 19, I was already beginning my charge to rank 3. At that time, I believed I could be a rank 3 Gu master at 20. Ha ha ha, I was too frivolous, I thought I was above everyone else and thought I could accomplish anything. I even thought I was omnipotent, I simply didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. It was when I was 20. I went out to do a mission and was beaten by a Shang village's Gu master. I was on the brink of death but fortunately, Medicine Hall's elder personally moved and saved me. But after that event, my aptitude dropped down to C grade, I couldn't recover from this shock for a whole of 8 years. At my 29th birthday, I started to have another look at myself in this world. I discovered that a single person's strength was limited. So what if I had broken through to rank 3? Living in this society, the most important thing is not individual strength, but the connections with others. I began my life anew when I was 30. I stepped down from the front lines when I was 45. 100 Gu masters jointly petitioned to elect me as an elder dozens of times. Even though I only had the cultivation of rank 2 peak stage, I couldn't take that final step but there was also no need. I had already achieved success. Clan members call me as the hidden elder. Most of my peers have already passed away but my life sailed smoothly. I still have influence on many Gu masters. After giving a lengthy report, Gu Dongtu returned to the main topic. He looked at Fang Yuan, his mouth curved up, Fang Yuan, you are too young and inexperienced, just like I was back then. Believing you can accomplish anything and finish everything by yourself. Hee. Gu Dongtu shook his head and continued, but when you gain more experience, you will understand that human is a social animal and not a lone beast. Sometimes we need to lower our heads and take a step back. Being an extremist and arrogant person will only bring isolation and destruction. I believe you have already felt it. No group will take you and everyone is leaving you out. Even if you receive the family inheritance mission, what would that do? As a person who has been left out by everyone, you definitely won't have the chance to finish the task. Give up. Fang Yuan indifferently looked at the middle-aged man, his expression calm. I wonder what expression he will show if he knew I have 500 years of experience. Fang Yuan's eyes couldn't help but reveal a trace of smile when he thought this. Actually, his uncle's way of thoughts had been his life's concept for a long period of time in his previous life. Thus, he had created the Bloodwing Demon sect, relying on the system and human emotions to create an enormous influence. 10,000s would come forth with his one call, seizing resources and fighting enemies. However, when he broke through to rank 6, he saw a completely new scene. Gu masters up to rank 5 were mortals but rank 6 were immortals. When he stood at that height and looked at the world, he suddenly comprehended, an enormous influence was indeed a powerful help but at the same time was an enormous burden. No matter which world, there was only one thing which one could truly rely on, that was oneself. Only that such people were usually weak. People couldn't endure loneliness and liked chasing after family love, friendship and romance to fill in their spirit. They indulged in being in a group and were afraid of being alone. When they received setbacks, they would hide in the group, complain to relatives and share with friends. They didn't dare to confront their fears and defeats by themselves. When there was pain, they would be busy sharing it, When there was something good, they would be anxious to boast of it. Gu Dongtu succeeded. No doubt he succeeded. He couldn't walk his original path, so he went in another path and left for a new scene. But at the same time, he was also a failure. He had lowered his head because of one setback. He was no more than a coward, but he was content with his running away. Gu Dongtu didn't know Fang Yuan had already labeled him as a coward. He saw Fang Yuan made no reply, so he thought the latter was absorbed in his speech. He continued, Fang Yuan, I won't beat around the bush, you are not Fang Zheng. If you give up your idea of inheriting the family assets, you will receive my friendship and you can use all my connections. I will also give you 1,000 primeval stones. I know you are hard-pressed for money these days and you are even late in paying the rent by 2 days, right? Fang Yuan indifferently smiled and spoke, Uncle, you don't wear these clothes often, right? Gu Dongtu was taken aback, he hadn't expected Fang Yuan would suddenly talk about this. Fang Yuan was indeed correct, he had already been retired for a long time now, this uniform was usually stored deep in a box. He had worn this uniform especially to meet Fang Yuan today, it was to increase his persuasion and deterrence power. Fang Yuan sighed, he sized up Gu Dongtu's clothes and continued, a Gu master's uniform isn't so clean and neat. It would be covered with sweat, mud and blood, it would be in shreds and patches, that is the smell of a Gu master. You are old, uncle, your great ambitions and aspirations have already disappeared from your youth. These years, you have lived an easy life and it has corrupted your heart. You are vying for the family assets, not for cultivation but to maintain your rich life. With such a mentality, how could you obstruct me? Gu Dongtu's face instantly turned ashen, anger surging through his mind. There was always a group of old people in this world. They touted their social experience everywhere. They considered others' dreams as illusions, considered others' passions as frivolous, considered others' persistence as arrogance. They would seek their own existence and superiority by lecturing the later generations. No doubt, Gu Dongtu was such a person. He wanted to educate Fang Yuan but he had never thought that Fang Yuan not only didn't listen to him or yield to him, but would instead lecture him. Fang Yuan, Gu Dongtu shouted, I wanted to guide and persuade you with good intentions as your elder but you don't know what's good from bad. HMPH, since you want to go against me, then so be it. I am not afraid to tell you that I already know the contents of your family inheritance mission. Young people don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Haha, I really want to see how you will complete this mission. Fang Yuan had a ridiculing smile on his face, there was no need to conceal now. Anyway, they could no longer reconcile, so there was no harm in enjoying Gu Dongtu's upcoming wonderful expression. Thereupon, he took out the bullskin water bag and opened it, a fragrance that was specific to honey wine floated out. What do you think is in here? He asked. Gu Dongtu turned pale with fright, his mood immediately sank to an all-time low. How can this be? Where did you get this honey wine? He roared, a stunned expression appeared on his face. Fang Yuan ignored him, closed the cap, put the water bag back and walked towards the internal affairs hall. Gu Dongtu's forehead was covered with cold sweat, many thoughts surging in his mind. Where did he get the honey wine? I already made sure that as long as he looks for other groups, I would get the news the very first moment. Could he have done this alone? No, that's not possible, he doesn't have a defense Gu worm. Someone definitely helped him. No, the point now is not finding the reason. This kid already has the honey wine, he is going to hand over the mission. Gu Dongtu was already panicking as he thought this and no longer had the calm appearance from moments ago. He quickly chased after Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, wait, everything can be discussed. Fang Yuan didn't speak and continued to walk, Gu Dongtu could only follow beside him. If 1,000 primeval stones won't do, then how about 2,000, no, 2,500. Gu Dongtu kept on increasing the offer. Fang Yuan turned a deaf ear to Gu Dongtu, instead increasingly having some expectations towards the family assets. On seeing how Gu Dongtu was so anxious and was continuously raising the offer, the real family assets should definitely be very good. Gu Dongtu was perspiring, he saw Fang Yuan was not moved, his face revealed a fierce look and he threatened, Fang Yuan, think this through clearly. What end will you have if you offend me? HMPH, don't blame uncle for being cold-hearted if you miss an arm or leg in the future. Fang Yuan laughed. This Gu Dongtu was really a lamentable person. He was bound by rules and regulations, the water bag was clearly within his reach, but he didn't dare to snatch it. If he didn't even have this much guts, how could he succeed in fighting for the benefits? Riches and danger went together. No matter which world, if you want to obtain something, you need to pay its price. Fang Yuan, you think everything will be well after you get the family assets. You are too young, you don't have a clue about society and its dangers. Ji Yu Dong Tu snarled by Fang Yuan's ear. Fang Yuan shook his head and ignored him, walking into the internal affairs hall in front of his glaring eyes. Actually, he didn't hate or even loathe this uncle of his. He had seen a lot of such people and understood this type of people. If Fang Yuan had enough primeval stones to support his cultivation, he wouldn't even fight for the family assets. But what good will giving such insignificant benefits to uncle do? For what reason was he reborn? It was not for this momentary period, but to step to the highest peak. This type of passerby, as long as they didn't interfere with this and only raged from the side, Fang Yuan would disdain to even step on them. But unfortunately, this Ji Yu Dong Tu obstructed Fang Yuan's path. Since it was so, then he will stamp on this obstacle and move forward. Fang Yuan, Uncle Ji Yu Dong Tu watched on as Fang Yuan stepped into the internal affairs hall, his whole body shook and veins bulged up on his forehead. The light of the setting sun shone on his hair which was already turning white. He was indeed old. When he sustained that injury at the age of 20, he had already aged. Chapter 102. Spring comes after the winter winds. Fang Yuan arrived at the internal affairs hall and turned in the golden honey wine. The middle-aged male GU master in charge was very surprised. While holding his pen, he asked, "You completed the acid mission already?" "What do you think?" Fang Yuan retorted. The middle-aged male GU master frowned. This was the mission he chose specifically to make life difficult for Fang Yuan. To think he completed it so quickly. He looked at Fang Yuan, his eyes threatening, saying solemnly, "Young man, answer whatever I ask you. If you do not reply honestly, it will affect your evaluation. Let me ask you, did you complete this mission alone? Say the truth, we will investigate thoroughly." "Of course I finished it myself," Fang Yuan replied. "Good, I will note that down." The middle-aged GU master recorded while laughing internally, "You're just a newbie, how could you complete it alone? Such a falseful report, the clan would definitely investigate. You will have trouble then." But unexpectedly Fang Yuan continued, "But this situation is slightly peculiar. That day I only went to scout out the area, but to think the bear was digging the beehive. Using that chance, I retrieved this honey wine." "What?" The middle-aged man's pen stopped, raising his head to look at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan shrugged, smiling, "What, did you think I could accomplish this mission alone? To say the truth, this is all thanks to you, finding this mission for me." The middle-aged GU master was stunned on the spot, a complex and unexplainable feeling in his heart as he laughed dryly and continued to record in the book. Fang Yuan stared at this man calmly, knowing full well that his extremely difficult acid mission was all thanks to this man. Unfortunately, he had already completed the mission. Even if the clan investigates, Fang Yuan had the appropriate setup already. He could stall Fang Yuan no longer. Even if this matter was handled by him. This is the grief of being in the system. Your status is the chain that restricts your actions. Alright, your mission is complete, you can inherit the family asset already. Except, your asset is all controlled by your uncle and aunt. The Internal Affairs Hall will retrieve it for you, come back in 3 days. After recording, the middle-aged man said. Fang Yuan nodded, he knew this rule, but he stared at the middle-aged man's record paper, saying, "According to the clan rules, the Internal Affairs mission record needs to be confirmed by the accomplisher on the spot. Please let me see this record." The middle-aged man's expression changed, he did not expect Fang Yuan to be so familiar with the process. He snorted lightly while handling the report to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan looked at the record without any problems. A few hundred words with the final evaluation, good. He could immediately see the relationship between GU Dong Tu and this GU master. This evaluation was definitely fair, showing that the middle-aged GU master did not give up on his work ethics just because of GU Dong Tu. The reason he helped Dong Tu was only because of their friendship and the transaction between them. It was the taking money to settle problems for others type of transaction. Giving the report back to the middle-aged GU master, Fang Yuan left the Internal Affairs Hall. Outside, GU Dong Tu was already gone. Fang Yuan could not help but laugh coldly. GU Dong Tu's influence was not big enough to affect the Internal Affairs Hall. Even if GU Bo the clan leader wanted to do this, he would have to go against the immense pressure from the clan elder circle and pay a huge price in his political career. There was a phrase on earth, called, "Those who live in the society has to follow its rules." There were rules in the society, and that is a form of system. Those who follow the rules, being anyone's pawn piece, restrict each other, and it is not up to them to control. Unless an individual's strength has reached the point where it can oppose the entire organization, otherwise, joining an organization and wanting to retain freedom was a pointless dream. Borrowing the power of the clan system, Fang Yuan had already affirmed the truth of getting back his assets. Regardless of Gu Dongtu or the clan leader, they will not pay the political price for interfering with such a small matter. In the guest hall, Brother Dongtu, there is nothing I can do anymore. The middle-aged Gu master sighed, standing in front of Gu Dongtu. Gu Dongtu's face was grim as he remained silent on his seat. Are there really no more methods? Beside him, Ant fearfully asked in an anxious and indignant tone. The middle-aged man shook his head. The results are set in stone and have entered the Internal Affairs Hall's procedure. Unless the two clan elders in power or the clan leader interferes. Brother Dongtu, this Internal Affairs Hall's inventory list states clearly the inheritance items and amount. Please return them all and don't make my life difficult. Saying so, he took out the inventory list. The inventory had a ton of records, from expensive items like estates to cheap tables or chairs. Other than that, there were also the Gu worms that Fang Yuan's parents had left behind. After a Gu master dies of battle, their Gu worms would be retrieved as an inheritance for their successor. This was a political move by the clan. Ant took a look at the list, before losing her composure. Damn it, you cannot do this. This is all ours, ours. Hubby, say something, think of something. Without these assets, what do we have left? Even our servants will be gone by half, we cannot afford it. Quote. Slap. Gu Dongtu stood up and sent his palm flying towards Ant, sending her to the ground from her seat. Noisy bitch. Uncle flew into a rage, scolding in an agitated tone. Frog in the well, the clan rules are there, you think you can choose not to return them. Dumb, ignorant. Ant used her hand to cover her cheeks, beaten into stupidity, lying on the ground in shock, staring at her husband blankly. HMPH. Gu Dongtu grabbed the inventory list, gritting his teeth, scanning through. His eyes were filled with blood traces as he breathed heavily, saying with hatred, return. All these things I will return, not a thing less. But. His veins popped from his forehead, the muscles on his face twitching, his expression full of ruthlessness. But Fang Yuan, I cannot stop the Internal Affairs Hall, yet I can deal with you. Don't think everything is well and alive now that you have these assets, HMPH. 3 days later, Fang Yuan walked out from the Internal Affairs Hall with a stack of house and land deeds and sold human contracts in his hands. To think this inheritance is so abundant. He was slightly stunned. Even though Fang Yuan had some estimations, after receiving this asset list, it was way out of his expectations. Over 10 mu of farmland, 8 family servants and 3 bamboo buildings, and a wine tavern. No wonder uncle was so insistent, thinking of all ways to stop me. Fang Yuan could understand Gu Dongtu's actions. With such a large family asset, even in this world, one could live like a king. 10 mu of farmland, 8 family servants, put this aside first. Those 3 bamboo buildings were property assets, even if they were only rented out. Every month, the rental amount was enough to support Fang Yuan's current cultivation. Other than that, there is also a wine tavern. Note that there is only 4 wine selling areas in the entire village. Such an asset, if on Earth, would be equivalent to having several mansions and a hotel. It is an aristocrat life with multiple servants. What's worth mentioning is, this world's living conditions was way more ruthless and difficult, thus the village being the safest location, priced the property assets even more expensively than on Earth. It is said that my Fang family, 3 generations ago, had a clan elder who held power and left much inheritance for his future generations. With these family assets, the 7 Gu worms aside, even if that number doubled, I can still afford them. But the crucial point isn't this. It is this grass Gu. At this point, there was a grass Gu lying quietly in Fang Yuan's palm. It was dainty and delicate, the emerald green roots resembling a ginseng's beard. There were some semi-transparent stolon that was like jadeite. 9 pieces of round-shaped leaves that were jade green covered and reflected each other, forming the shape of a round plate. This was the 9-leaf vitality grass, the healing type rank 2 Gu worm. If it came to normal healing, it had no difference from the life breath grass. The true value of the 9-leaf vitality grass lay in its leaves. Every one of the leaves torn from it was a vitality leaf. Vitality leaf is also a type of grass Gu. At rank 1, it is an expendable type, disappearing after one use. It had another flaw, and that was when a piece of vitality leaf is used to heal injuries, within the next hour, other vitality leaves had no more healing effect on the person. But, all in all, it was easy to refine, and instantaneous healing together with the easy feeding of it made it the most popular healing technique among rank 2 GU masters. Healing GU master, every group needed one. But in times where multiple GU masters were injured, what can a single GU master do? If the healing GU master was the one who died, or got lost, what happens to the rest? Thus, GU masters always prepared some healing methods for themselves, and the vitality leaf was the best method. Every GU master that roamed outside needed to prepare at least one or two. After I refined the 9-leaf vitality grass, every piece of leaf torn out would be a vitality leaf. Using the primeval essence to inject into the grass, I can make it grow new leaves. Thus, this 9-leaf vitality grass can be said to be a moving gold mine. The most important asset of all without exception. Having this 9-leaf vitality grass is an avenue of business. In this dangerous world, which GU master does not get injured on their missions? They have a perpetual need for the vitality leaf. No wonder GU Yudong Tu was known as the hidden elder. Even after he retired many years ago, he still held great influence outside. So the reason was this 9-leaf vitality grass. GU masters needed the vitality leaf, and GU Yudong Tu sold the leaf. With such a relationship, it is no question that his influence remained. Fang Yuan was enlightened. Only in this world are clan relationships raised to such a level, restraining uncle and aunt. If this was Earth, with such a conflict of interest, Fang Zheng and I would already have had been killed by them. This is not good. It seems I have some trouble ahead. Uncle and aunt will not let go so easily. But I have already grown up with rank 2 cultivation. If they want to deal with me and also consider the clan regulations, they would be highly restricted. HMPH, regardless of what they do, just show me what you've got. Dealing with it as it comes, I will handle them all. Fang Yuan walked on the street, his eyes glimmering in brilliance. A gust of winter wind blew on his face. It was still far from spring, but Fang Yuan knew that spring, start of his new life, had already come. Chapter 103. Chapter 103. The larger your ambitions, the smaller the world. The wine tavern wasn't big, but it was in a good location. It was at the eastern side of the village near the eastern gate. The flow of people was the largest at the eastern and northern gates. Thus, the wine tavern's business was pretty good whether it was day or night. Young lord, please take a seat. An old man lowered his head to Fang Yuan. Few waiters wiped the benches and tables with a fawning and flattering smile towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan shook his head. He didn't sit, but walked around the tavern, sizing everything. He thought inwardly, this is my wine tavern. This wine tavern only had one floor, but it had an underground wine cellar. Huge and square black tiles covered the floor. There were 8 square tables, 2 tables were set against the wall and other 6 tables were surrounded by 4 benches. A dark brown, long sales counter could be seen immediately upon entering the wine tavern. There were papers, brush, inkstones and also an abacus on the counter. Behind the counter was the liquor cabinet where all sizes of wine jars were displayed. Some of these were large wine jars of black pottery, and some were small and bright porcelain wine bottles. Fang Yuan was walking around as he wished. The old man and waiters didn't dare to sit, they could only follow close behind. They were restless, the news of the landlord changing was too abrupt. The previous landlord Gu Yudong Tu was cunning as a ghost, he was strict and acrimonious, they were under a lot of pressure. This boy in front of them was actually able to take the wine tavern from Gu Yudong Tu's hands. Such a method of snatching was shocking. So these people's gazes towards Fang Yuan carried unease and fear. Fang Yuan suddenly stopped, it is good. But this store is a bit small. The old man immediately walked forward and bowed to answer, young lord, we put sheds outside every summer and lay tables and benches. But it is winter now and the wind is biting cold, no one would sit outside even if we put up sheds. So we took them down. Fang Yuan slightly turned. He glanced at this old man, you are the shopkeeper. The old bent his waist even lower and said even more respectfully, I dare not, I dare not. Young lord, this wine tavern is yours, whoever you choose as a shopkeeper is the shopkeeper. Fang Yuan nodded then glanced at the waiters, they all seemed to be competent. If it was on Earth, he would be anxious that this shopkeeper and the waiters would team up and scheme against him, the owner. But in this world, GU masters were high and mighty, killing mortals would only require a thought. Even if uncle and aunt egged them, these mortals wouldn't dare to go against Fang Yuan. Alright, bring the accounting books and bring me a pot of tea. Fang Yuan sat down. Yes, young lord. The shopkeeper and waiters moved hurriedly. There were as much as 16 account books, and every book used bamboo papers which had a light green hue. The bamboo papers were more brittle than zhen paper and were suitable for the damp atmosphere of the southern border. Fang Yuan casually picked up a few books and skimmed over them, asking some questions occasionally. The shopkeeper gave prompt replies. Soon, his forehead was covered with sweat. Fang Yuan had created the Bloodwing Demon sect and taught countless people in his previous life. He was rich in experience and his eyes were shrewd. Others might be confused and dazzled when they see the account books, but in his eyes, all the doubtful points were as clear as crystal. This wine tavern was the second biggest asset after the 9-leaf vitality grass. Fang Yuan naturally wanted to firmly grasp it. There were only some small problems in the account books which could be attributed to mistakes and negligence. These mortals didn't dare to be presumptuous. However, when Fang Yuan turned to the last page, he saw that this month's income had already been taken by Gu Dong too. Young lord, the previous landlord personally took it. We didn't dare to resist. The shopkeeper replied while wiping his sweat. His aged body was already trembling and his face had become very pale. Fang Yuan was silent. He put down the account books on the table and glanced at the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper immediately felt a huge pressure as if a mountain was pressing down on him. He was scared witless, kneeling on the ground. Seeing the shopkeeper kneeling down, the waiters also astutely knelt down one by one. Fang Yuan calmly sat and turned his gaze towards them. The waiters immediately felt like they were in a world of ice. They couldn't resist Fang Yuan's aura. They were all silent. To these mortals, the wine tavern's work was both stable and safe, the ideal job. They didn't want to lose this job. Fang Yuan stopped upon seeing that his authority had been established. Going too far could end up being detrimental. He slowly spoke. I won't bother about the past matters. I saw that your wages are somewhat low. Waiters' wages will be raised by 20% and the shopkeepers by 40% from now on. Work properly and you will get more benefits. Fang Yuan stood up and walked to the entrance. The group of people kneeling on the ground were stunned for a good while before coming back to their senses. All of their eyes brimmed with tears that flowed down their faces. Thank you, young lord, for your great kindness. Young lord is compassionate. We will definitely work with all our strength. Young lord, you are our benefactor, please take care. Tearful sounds came from behind. There were also crisp sounds of foreheads smashing on the black tiles from continuous kowtowing. Use might alongside mercy. This was the only way the top controlled its subordinates no matter in which world. Might was the foundation, and under this might, any small kindness would be magnified by countless times. A benefit without might would only give a title of a good Samaritan. But as time passed, people would no longer feel grateful for such kindness and it would instead result in greed and disaster. But these ways to control people are all unorthodox methods. It would be highly esteemed on earth, but in this world, raising one's own strength is the one true way. No, even on earth, strength is first. Fang Yuan thought of the scarlet-red imperial ancestor. 1. In those days, the scarlet-red imperial ancestor had gone through and experienced a trial and he had come to a conclusion: political power comes from guns. This was the naked truth. Strength was the foundation of any political power. So-called authority is only an accessory to strength. Actually, not only authority, wealth and beauties were also derivatives of strength. Fang Yuan headed towards the 3 bamboo houses after leaving the wine tavern. These 3 bamboo houses were rented out by uncle and aunt. They were practically full. This world paid attention to more birth. To the ever-growing huge population, the space in the village seemed narrow. The clan had the system of the eldest son inheriting the property. Other sons and daughters would have to rely on their effort. Even if a lot of people relied on clan politics to get a meager split of the family assets and work hard outside, they might not even be able to save enough to buy a bamboo house in their whole life. On one hand, raising GU consumed a lot, and on the other, the village had limited space, so the house prices were very expensive. They could naturally build house outsides the village, but that was not safe. Wild beasts and snakes would always roam around and could intrude into the houses. Above all, every time a beast tide occurred, all the houses outside the village would be destroyed. Extending the village was the only way to solve this. But extending meant the area to defend would increase and the village wouldn't be able to defend against beast tide's attacks. Moreover, if the area was big, then it would be difficult to guard against and search for infiltrating GU masters of other villages. GUU village had extended several times in history but had been devastated by beast tides. After learning from this lesson, the current village size was already the largest. Fang Yuan skimmed through it, and after understanding some situations, he already got the picture. These 3 bamboo houses were operated very well by uncle and aunt. The rent was also customized to get more profits, so he might as well just let it run like that. He calculated that the earnings from these 3 bamboo houses were not as much as the wine tavern, but the difference was not much. The overall situation was much better than Fang Yuan's original expectations. Just the day before yesterday, he was left with nothing and had become so poor that his primeval stones count didn't even reach 5. But now, all of a sudden, he rose to the list of richest people in the clan. The female tenants in these rented houses were all rank 2 female GU masters in difficulty. After knowing Fang Yuan's identity, their gaze towards him turned amorous. If they could be near to Fang Yuan and get married to him, then they would no longer have to rush about facing danger, their lives would be smooth and steady. Such a life was what they were pursuing and using all their strength to fight for. That is to say that if Fang Yuan wanted, he could retire and live a rich life now like his uncle used to. With a tap of a finger, many female GU masters would flock to him. But that is not what I want. Fang Yuan stood at the 2nd floor of the bamboo house, letting female GU masters' provocative gazes fall upon his body. He frowned as he held the railings and gazed afar. Far away, stretched of green mountains went on continuously, looking like a sleeping giant with the gray-blue sky as its quilt. The endless rivers and boundless earth, when can I move unhindered on them? Amidst the winds of change, dragons and snakes rise from the lands too, when can I look down upon all living things? Since rebirth, I have been drifting with the waves like a rootless duckweed. I spared no effort to get the family assets. With this base, I can be said to have become independent and gained my footing. Next would be to unearth the flower wine monk's inheritance and put all my effort in cultivating to rank 3, then I can leave this village and go out to the wide world. Fire burned in Fang Yuan's deep black eyes. Qingmao Mountain was one of the countless mountains in the southern border. And the southern border was only a corner of this world. Too small, too small. How could such a place sustain his lofty ambitions? Compared to his ambitions, these family assets, which others were cracking their brains to obtain, which was a thing of yearning, was as tiny as dust. Big brother, come down, I need to talk to you. At some point in time, Gu Fang Zheng had reached the bamboo house. He looked up at Fang Yuan and yelled. Fang Yuan's train of thoughts were broken, he looked down at Fang Zhen with an indifferent look. The brothers' eyes met, it was silent. Younger brother Fang Zheng was downstairs and was shrouded by the shadow of another house. He was facing up, his eyebrows were raised and his 2 eyes were flickering with light. Big brother Fang Yuan was upstairs, sunlight shone on him, his slightly drooping eyes had pupils as dark as night. Similar faces reflected in each other's eyes. As to his little brother's appearance, Fang Yuan wasn't surprised. Fang Zheng was a weapon of uncle and aunt to fight for family assets. And yet, so what? Fang Yuan looked down at Fang Zheng, sighing inwardly, a great aptitude, but is nothing more than a pawn, truly insignificant. 1. It's referring to Chairman Mao. Writing his name directly in Chinese texts are taboo, it seems. 2. Long Shei Qi Lu, it's along the meaning of, an earthquake is about to happen, and all kinds of living creatures feel fretful and uneasy, they start to move about lively. It's a visualization description. Chapter 104. Chapter 104. Want to buy the liquor worm? Eventually, Fang Yuan did not go downstairs, and his brother did not go up. The 2 persisted, and the distance between the floors indicated that the distance between the brothers were enlarging. The talk was not smooth. Brother, you are just too much. To think that you are such a person. Downstairs, Fang Zheng stood, his brows creasing tightly as he screamed. Fang Yuan was not angry, but laughed lightly. Oh, what kind of person am I? Brother. Fang Zheng sighed deeply. After our parents died, uncle and aunt adopted us. They have the gratitude of raising us. To think that you are so heartless, returning favor with revenge. Big brother, is your heart made of stone? Saying so, Fang Zheng's tone was slightly trembling. So strange, this inheritance is rightfully mine, what is there to be said about revenge and favor? Fang Yuan retorted unenthusiastically. Fang Zheng gritted his teeth, acknowledging, yes. I know, this inheritance is from our parents. But you cannot take them all, you have to at least leave some for aunt and uncle to let them enjoy their life in retirement, right? Doing so, you really are making our hearts bitterly disappointed, you let me look down on you. Pausing, he continued, did you ever return home to see the living conditions that they are in now? Half the servants at home were already retrenched, they cannot afford it. Brother, how can you be so cruel? Fang Zheng's eyes were red, clutching his fist, he screamed at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan laughed coldly, he knew that uncle and aunt had controlled the assets all these years and must have amassed a huge fortune. Even if this was not so, just with the profits at the end of the month from the wine tavern, they would be able to afford all those servants. They are only pretending to be poor so Fang Zheng would come and find trouble. Fang Yuan used his gaze to size up Fang Zheng and said directly, "My adorable little brother, if I insist on not returning the assets, what can you do? Although you are 16, you have already acknowledged them as parents, don't forget that. You have lost the rights to the inheritance." "I know." Fang Zheng's gaze had a divine light, "that's why I am here to challenge you to a written war. Challenge 1. On the arena, let's have a match to decide victory. If I win, return a portion of the family asset to mother and father." This world's GU battles were like the Earth's martial arts competitions. Between clansmen, if they had unresolvable conflict, they could use this method to settle the problem. There were many types of GU battles, 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, battle of arts, battle of strength, and life and death battle. Of course, Fang Yuan and Fang Zheng would not be so serious as to fight to the death if they had a GU battle. Seeing the brothers' determined expression, Fang Yuan suddenly laughed. "It seems that before this, uncle and aunt specifically told you, huh? But, as someone who lost to me before, you have such confidence of winning me." Fang Zheng squinted, unwillingly thinking of what happened not long ago, the humiliation on the arena. Ever since, every time he thought about it, rage would rise from his heart. This rage was directed towards Fang Yuan as well as himself. He hated himself for being useless, being frantic at the critical moment. As a matter of fact, he had underperformed in that battle. His tempo was taken away by Fang Yuan, and he only thought of using the jade skin GU at the last moment. In the end, he lost abruptly and very indignantly. Fang Zheng's anger towards himself fueled even more intense indignance. Thus, unavoidably, he had such a thought: if I could redo it, I can definitely perform better and defeat my older brother. Thus, when uncle and aunt complained to him, Fang Zheng not only wanted to take back the inheritance for the two of them, but also wanted to fight Fang Yuan again to prove himself. "Things are different now, brother." Fang Zheng looked at Fang Yuan, his eyes burning with determination, fires blazing around him. "Last time, I performed badly and lost to you. This time, I have successfully refined the rank 2 GU worm moon raiment. You cannot break my defense anymore." Saying so, he emitted a vague light blue fog around his body. The fog enveloped him, and in the mist, it eventually formed into a long floating ribbon. The ribbon looped around his waist and coiled around his two limbs. The middle section of the ribbon drifted above his head, causing Fang Zheng to give out a sort of graceful and mysterious magical breath. "Indeed, it is the moon raiment. How foolish, revealing your trump card like that." Fang Yuan stood on the stairs, seeing this scene, his gaze twinkled. Moon raiment was a rank 2 GU worm with defensive properties. Although the defense was slightly lower than the white jade GU, it could assist others in defending and had greater contribution towards small group fights. With this GU in his hands, Fang Yuan really could not break Fang Zheng's defense with his bare fists. Sending the fist over was like hitting cotton, absolutely losing its kinetic force. Even if he used the Moonlight GU, he could not break through unless it was the Moonglow GU. Thus if Fang Zheng wanted to fight and invited Fang Yuan to a GU battle, according to the clan rules he has to accept. Without revealing the white jade GU, Fang Yuan might really lose. A grade is a grade, and with the clan leader's nurture, Fang Zheng is growing rapidly. It could be said that, during the academy phase, Fang Yuan suppressed Fang Zheng. But now he had to admit, Fang Zheng was starting to show the brilliance of a genius and was showing imposing threat to Fang Yuan. "But, you think I did not expect this?" Fang Yuan stared down at his brother, his lips curling. He said to Fang Zheng, "My persistent little brother, of course you can challenge me. But have you gotten the approval of your teammates? If during the battle, your group has to go on a mission, how would you choose?" Fang Zheng paused. Indeed, he did not think of this. He had to admit, his brother was right. The group had to work together, and if teammates wanted to go on individual operations, they would need to report first. Thus, you might as well go back, find that leader Gu Qingshu of yours, and explain the situation. "I'll wait for you guys at the Northern Gates Wine Tavern," Fang Yuan said. Fang Zheng hesitated slightly, then gritted his teeth. "I'll go now, brother. But let me tell you, delay tactics don't work." He came to Gu Qingshu's residence, and the family servant led him in. Gu Qingshu was practicing using his GU. His body was moving around in the garden's arena stage, extremely agile and fit. Green vine Gu, he lightly said, and from his right palm, a green vine shot out. It was around 15 meters. Qingshu grabbed the vine and used it as a whip, splitting, coiling and sweeping around. Pow pow pow, the shadow of the whip swept across the floor, sending the concrete on the broken ground flying. Pine needle Gu, he suddenly kept the vine whip, and flipped his long green hair. Immediately, from among the hair pine needles shot out like rain. The pine needles hit the wooden puppet not far away, piercing its entire body and creating close and numerous pinholes. Moonwhirl Gu. Next, he placed out his left palm, and a green-colored crescent insignia glowed in a bright green light. With a flick of his wrist, the green moonblade was sent flying. Different from the trajectory of a normal moonblade, this green moonblade was more curved. While flying in the air, it traveled in an arc, making it harder for enemies to predict. As expected of the number 1 Gu master among the rank 2, senior Qingshu. With such an attack, I can't even last for 10 breaths. He's really too strong. Fang Zheng stared with his mouth wide open, forgetting his original intention in the first place. Oh, Fang Zheng, why are you here? The previous mission just ended, you have to rest more, got to keep that balance between work and rest. Gu Qingshu upon noticing Fang Zheng, kept away his fighting aura and smiled gently. Senior Qingshu, Fang Zheng bowed to him respectfully. This respect was sincerely from his heart. Ever since he joined the group, Fang Zheng had been attentively taken care of by Qingshu, and in Fang Zheng's eyes, Qingshu was like an elder brother. Oh Fang Zheng, it seems you have business with me. Qingshu wiped the sweat off his forehead while going towards Fang Zheng with a smile. It's like this, Fang Zheng said his intentions, as well as the entire story. Hearing so, Qingshu's eyebrows slightly rose. The truth is that he had heard a lot about Fang Yuan, and when compared to Fang Zheng, he was more interested in Fang Yuan. Might as well meet him for once. Thinking so, Gu Qingshu nodded, I have something to discuss with your brother as well. In that case, let's go together. Fang Zheng was overjoyed, thank you senior. He, no need to thank me, we're in the same group. Qingshu patted Fang Zheng's shoulders. Fang Zheng could feel warmth in his heart, his eyes unwillingly turning red. The two got to the tavern. A shop assistant had been expecting them all along, and brought them inside. On a square table by the window, there were several side dishes and 2 wine cups, and a pot of wine. Fang Yuan sat on one side, and when he saw Gu Qingshu, he smiled and extended his hand, please sit. Gu Qingshu nodded to Fang Yuan. He took his seat, then said to Fang Zheng, go take a stroll around, I'll talk with your brother. He was a smart person. Upon seeing only 2 wine cups, he knew that Fang Yuan wanted to have a chat alone. The truth is, he had such intentions as well. Fang Zheng acknowledged and left the shop indignantly. I know you, Fang Yuan. Qingshu smiled, opening the wine pot skillfully, pouring a cup for Fang Yuan and one for himself. You are a very interesting, smart person. Saying so, he raised his cup towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan laughed and raised his cup as well to return the toast. The two drank it in one shot together. Qingshu poured another for Fang Yuan again, as well as for himself. As he poured, he said, there's no point beating about the bush when talking to a smart person. I'll be open, I want to buy your liquor worm, how much would you sell it? He did not ask Fang Yuan if he was selling it, but asked directly, how much, showing his immense confidence. He was the number 1 rank 2 Gu master. At a young age, he reached rank 2 peak stage, overpowering the rank 2 upper stage Kai Shan and Mo Yan. Once he appeared, he took the initiative and poured the wine and toasted Fang Yuan. His confidence together with his gentle smile formed a unique aura. It was not overbearing and forceful which could make people disgusted, but it made others feel his persistence. His long green hair, and the winter sunlight shining through the window and onto his fair, gently streaked face. This let Fang Yuan subconsciously think of the bright and beautiful radiance of spring. A truly talented person, what a shame, Fang Yuan thought. He was not bothered by Qingshu's act of taking over the initiative. In fact Fang Yuan was slightly appreciative of him, and he sighed lightly. 1. Written War Challenge, Shaolin Showdown. GU Battle Showdown basically. 2. If you really have no idea what it looks like, perhaps this link might help tell me if it ever gets broken. Chapter 105. Chapter 105. I will lose extremely terribly. Gu Qingshu was also an orphan like Fang Yuan and Fang Zheng. His parents had died in a wolf tide when he was young. He was personally raised by clan leader Gu Bo. After he was tested to have B-grade aptitude, he received Gu Bo's personal guidance. His aptitude was outstanding and could be said to be at the top among the B grades. It could even be called false A grade. Gu Bo had been raising him as a clan leader candidate. Gu Qingshu had a warm temperament and was amicable. He was highly praised and received well by the clan members. He was also very loyal to the clan. Fang Zheng's arrival cut off his hopes of inheriting the clan leader position, but he was instead happy and wholeheartedly took care of Fang Zheng. On earth, Yu Fei 1, Wei Zheng 2, and Bao Zheng 3 were people with such character. Unfortunately, in the wolf tide a year later, the northern gate would fall. To block this gap and protect the clan members, he stepped forward. In the end, he forcefully used a rank 3 GU with his rank 2 cultivation, becoming an impenetrable fortress and successfully defending the village. However, his aperture was destroyed because of this and he finally turned into a treeman and died. Thus, Gu Qingshu had left a profound impression on Fang Yuan. When he saw Fang Yuan sighing, Gu Qingshu naturally didn't think that Fang Yuan was looking back on his death and thought Fang Yuan was vexed due to the liquor worm. He smiled. Fang Yuan, you should already be clear on the limits of liquor worm. The liquor worm is only a rank 1 GU worm and can only refine rank 1 green copper essence. But you are already a rank 2 GU master. The liquor worm has no use towards red steel primeval essence. Although you have a wine tavern now and can easily raise the liquor worm, why would you vainly raise something that has no use to you? He switched the thread of discussion. The liquor worm has no use to you but it is useful to other rank 1 GU masters. Especially in the awakening ceremony next spring, there will be a new batch of students and the liquor worm will be of great help to them. So, you might as well just sell the liquor worm to the clan and contribute to clan's strength. Fang Yuan didn't reply. Qingshu pondered, guessing Fang Yuan's intention. I understand now. You are reluctant to part with the liquor worm, you even want to fuse it. If I am not wrong, you should be thinking of going the route of the rank 2 white chrysalis, then the rank 3 mist perspiring butterfly fusion route, right? This is the most widespread and also the most practical recipe. The mist perspiring butterfly is a great GU worm. But the white chrysalis has no ability. This fusion route wouldn't have much value to you. You have C-grade aptitude and now have rank 2 cultivation. White chrysalis doesn't have any ability and will only squander food, it will be of no help to you. What is the possibility of you reaching rank 3? Even if you succeeded in advancing to rank 3, you will probably be middle-aged by then. Will you raise the useless white chrysalis for tens of years? It will be better to use the expenses of raising white chrysalis on nurturing GU worms. That is more practical and will be more helpful to you, am I wrong? Liquor worm's true value lies in refining primeval essence and raising a small realm. If you go through this fusion, you will only be treating the liquor worm as a material, won't that be a pity? All GU worms had only one ability. For instance, the spring-autumn cicada was a rank 6 GU, but it only had the ability of rebirth. The new GU worm that comes from fusion usually took an ability from one GU worm and enhanced it. White Jade GU, for instance, took the defensive ability of Jade Skin GU and enhanced it, while losing the White Boar Gu's ability to gain increased strength. That is to say, if someone obtained White Jade GU, it would only help in defense and couldn't increase the GU master's strength. Qingshu was correct, the liquor worm's value was in refining primeval essence and raising its stage by a small realm. To GU masters, this was another form of increasing their primeval essence reserves while also being an enormous help in nourishing their aperture and increasing their cultivation speed. If one went through white chrysalis, mist perspiring butterfly, fusion route, the resulting GU worms won't have the ability to refine primeval essence, which would truly be a pity. In fact, Flower Wine Monk took this route and refined the mist perspiring butterfly from the liquor worm, using it to enchant women and commit evil acts. After his death, the mist perspiring butterfly continued to degenerate due to not having sufficient food and finally reverted back to liquor worm. Qingshu's eyes flashed upon seeing the silent Fang Yuan and continued, actually, our clan has a recipe. This recipe raises liquor worm to rank 2 Moon Harbinger GU, then the rank 3 7 Fragrances liquor worm. 7 Fragrances liquor worm has the ability to refine primeval essence. Fang Yuan, if you don't want to sell the liquor worm, then we could change it to a business transaction. You will sell the liquor worm to the clan, and if the clan can refine it to the 7 Fragrances liquor worm, you will have the right to use it for 5 years. If it fails, the clan will compensate for it. What do you think? Doing this meant the clan will bear all the risks for the fusion. With such a superior condition, others might eagerly agree to it. But Fang Yuan only sneered coldly in his heart. He knew himself. With his 44% C-grade aptitude, advancing to rank 3 was almost impossible. In his previous life, Fang Yuan had stalled at rank 2 for over 100 years before finally and coincidentally obtaining a talent-raising GU worm and becoming a rank 3 GU master. 5 years of using rites sounded wonderful, but to Fang Yuan, it was like trying to catch the moon's reflection in water. Gu Qingshu had said so because he saw Fang Yuan's ambitions to charge to rank 3, so he intentionally threw this sweet bait to lure Fang Yuan. But he had miscalculated from the start. In Fang Yuan's memories, there was the best recipe for the liquor worm fusion. First was advancing the liquor worm to rank 2 4 flavors liquor worm, then to the rank 3 7 fragrances liquor worm. Whether it was 4 flavors liquor worm or 7 fragrances liquor worm, both had the ability to refine primeval essence. However, it was not easy to refine the 4 flavors liquor worm. First of all, its fusion required 2 liquor worms. Fang Yuan only had 1 currently. Next, the fusion required 4 types of wine, and these 4 wines should be of 4 different flavors: sour, sweet, bitter and spicy. Let's not talk about the difficulty in purchasing a liquor worm with there being hardly any supply of it in the market. Let's look at these 4 wines first. Spicy wines were the most common, ordinary white spirit wine were all of this type. For sour wines, you could get bayberry wine and grape wines, rice wines could fit the sweet wine criteria. But as for the bitter wines, it needed some thinking to be done. From what Fang Yuan knew, there was a type of green bitter wine which was brewed by using eye grass. Unfortunately, the eye village was immeasurably far away. How would he obtain it? Fang Yuan had detained the liquor worm not because he wanted to wait and sell it for a high price. Rather, Fang Yuan had all along wanted to go through this fusion route. Using any other fusion routes could be counted as ruining the liquor worm. How could Gu Qingshu know what Fang Yuan had in mind? Seeing Fang Yuan not making any moves to agree at all, he threw his trump card. Fang Yuan, if you sell the liquor worm, I can mediate between you and Fang Zheng. At least, he won't use the family assets to challenge you to a GU battle. You also know the clan rules, the challenge must be accepted. Even if the GU battle request is not approved by the higher-ups, it must first be accepted. Even if you are sure of your defeat and don't want to go to the arena, directly throwing in the towel, you still need to accept the challenge. This world promoted martial spirit. Clans didn't need cowards. If there was a challenge, GU masters must accept them. Accepting the challenge proves that you are not a coward. Even if you admit your defeat in front of the public, that too would be a conduct of courage. Under the oppression of the ruthless environment, this had automatically turned and formed into a system of values. The clan's higher-ups would arbitrate according to the results of the GU battles and resolve any problems and disputes. The premise of a GU battle was to have a reason. The challenger should be in the right and the challenge should be reasonable, or the 2 parties could both make an agreement similar to betting, only then would the GU battle be approved. Fang Zheng's GU battle request is reasonable and fair, it will be approved. If this happens, no matter the result, whether loss or win, will be judged by the elders. Who do you think the elders will side with between you and Fang Zheng? Qingshu's smile became bigger. He looked at Fang Yuan with a burning gaze and continued to add pressure. Fang Yuan, if you win, you will simply have to part with a tiny bit less of the family assets. But if you sell the liquor worm to the clan, you will be contributing to the clan. The clan will remember you. I can also guarantee that Fang Zheng would never challenge you on the basis of family assets. The implication was that Fang Zheng could still challenge Fang Yuan with different reasons. This was one of the things Gu Qingshu and Gu Bo would be happy to see. They hoped Fang Zheng would defeat Fang Yuan and break the shadow in his heart to build up his self-confidence. Fang Yuan suddenly smiled. He had been listening to Gu Qingshu's chatters from the beginning. And now, he finally spoke. You think I will lose if we fight? Fang Yuan asked Qingshu. Qingshu also smiled. Fights are full of variations, no one can foretell what might happen. However, I need to remind you, Fang Zheng has already refined the rank 2 Moonveil GU, you won't have much of an advantage. Ha ha ha, Fang Yuan shook his head, and the smile on his face became bigger. I will lose, I'd definitely lose. Qingshu stared blankly. Fang Yuan stared into his eyes and continued, not only will I lose, I will even lose very miserably. I will hand over all my parents' inheritance, and from then on I will sleep on the street and wander about begging in the village. Gu Qingshu was smart, he understood Fang Yuan's true intentions. His expression became grave, no longer was it confident and graceful. Fang Yuan's words were a bare threat. Fang Zheng was being raised as the next clan leader. If it was made known that he had recognized others as his parents, used his cultivation and aptitude to bully his big brother, snatching the inheritance, then there would be a devastating damage to his reputation. Even on Earth, a person who did this would be shamed and disdained by people. Let alone in this world where the values of family love was raised to a whole new level. It wouldn't be anything if Fang Zheng wanted to become a devil. But he was going to become a clan leader, a leader of the righteous path, and that meant he needed to uphold virtue and cherish it. For a moment, Jiu Qingshu looked dazedly at Fang Yuan. He discovered that despite hearing a lot about Fang Yuan, he had still underestimated the latter. The dominance that he built up from his many sentences since the moment they met, had now crumbled with a bang. Fang Yuan hit the nail on the head, directly indicating the main part to Jiu Qingshu. If it was another person, Fang Yuan would have spoken differently. But Jiu Qingshu was someone who had extreme loyalty to the clan, and in Fang Yuan's previous life, he would rather sacrifice himself to protect the clan. Thus, he had no choice but to worry because of Fang Yuan's threat. However, he quickly calmed down, his eyes staring at Fang Yuan as he spoke between clenched teeth, "But you won't do this. Because the inheritance has been your goal all along, how will you cultivate if you give up the inheritance?" Fang Yuan wasn't afraid. He met Qingshu's gaze, his lips curled up in a smile. "That's why I believe you will give up the notion of buying the liquor worm and also persuade Fang Zheng to not challenge me, am I wrong?" Others might not be able to persuade Fang Zheng, but Jiu Qingshu had this capability. Fang Yuan had no doubt on this. The situation was in a deadlock. After a moment, Jiu Qingshu lowered his eyes. He stared at the wine cup in his hand for a while and suddenly laughed. "Interesting, we will do just that." His tone carried a hint of melancholy. 1. Yufei 1103 AD 1142 AD, Song Dynasty patriot and general. 2. Wei Zheng 580 AD 643 AD, Tang politician and historian, notorious as a critic, editor of history of the Sui dynasty. 3. Bao Zheng 999 AD 1062 AD, Northern Song official renowned for his honesty. Chapter 106. Chapter 106. Half his life savings gone to dust, only his vitality remains for eternity. A day later, on the futon, Fang Yuan sat cross-legged. A large face-sized white light was an arm's distance from his face, silently floating. Fang Yuan took out piece after piece of primeval stones from his money bag and threw them into the light ball. The white light contracted, but became more eye-piercing. When it shrunk to a fist size, the white light was glaring, and Fang Yuan could only squint his eyes to observe it. Probably the last piece, Fang Yuan played around with the primeval stone in his hand, knowing that the critical moment was here. He tossed the primeval stone into the light ball. He could vaguely see the primeval stone floating around in the light ball, like snow dropping into boiling water, constantly melting away. A large amount of rock powder fell on the ground. The primeval stone vanished, and the light ball exploded. With a bam, the 3 GU worms flew in 3 directions. One fell on the bed, while the other 2 flew to the walls, and then dropped to the ground. Refining the moonglow GU had failed. Fang Yuan's heart sank. He quickly moved his finger, calling back his GU worms. The moonlight GU and little light GU wavered their way to Fang Yuan as they floated around, slowly landing in his palm, but the other little light GU had no response. It laid on the ground, its milky white 5-star-shaped body gradually dissipating into the air. After a few breaths' time, it had completely vanished with no lingering traces. This was the price of a failed fusion. According to the different fusing recipes, the GU worm might get injured as a result, or when unlucky, might even die. Even with his rich experience, adding on to the fact that Fang Yuan could multitask and had the right recipe, there was still a chance of failure. Fang Yuan was not upset. He had seen such an event many times. He had already performed to his best, and if the results still failed, it could only be attributed to luck. Luckily, it was not the moonlight GU that died, but the little light GU. "I can just buy another one from the shop, it is easy to replenish." If the moonlight GU died, it would not be easy trying to get another one. He had lots of cash now. Even if one little light GU died, he could just purchase another one. Next, he inspected the moonlight GU and the remaining little light GU. On the surface of both GU, it was slightly dimmer than usual. This was the result of an injured GU due to fusion failure. Once a GU worm gets injured, the chances of a successful fusion would drop drastically. I have to wait for them to recover before I continue trying. Fang Yuan knew that haste does not bring success, and quickly kept the 2 GU. He estimated the time, around at least 3 days later would he be able to perform another try. Cultivation did not end there. Fang Yuan opened his right palm. His left hand was pale, and on his palm, there was a green insignia with a grass pattern, like a dark green tattoo. Fang Yuan's thought moved, and the primeval essence in his aperture began to move, like light red fog flowing towards the insignia on his left arm. The green insignia was instantly brought alive. From Fang Yuan's palm, the tip of the grass emerged, followed by the round leaves of 9 dark green leaves, lastly followed by the jade green transparent stem. As for the roots, they were not exposed. On his palm, the original dark green tattoo was gone, only leaving behind traces of dark green lines. It represented the intertwining of the grass with Fang Yuan's palm. It was the rank 2 grass GU, 9-leaf vitality grass. Right now, Fang Yuan's palm was like a piece of land, and a 9-leaf vitality grass was growing on top of it, like the exquisite art made of jade stone carvings. Fang Yuan stretched out his right hand's finger and plucked the leaves. With every piece of round leaf that he plucked, Fang Yuan could feel a slight pain himself, like the feeling of pulling his hair. After the 9 pieces were plucked and placed at the bedside by Fang Yuan, there was only the bare stem of the 9-leaf vitality grass left on his palm. Fang Yuan continued to deploy his primeval essence. The light red-colored rank 2 primeval essence continued to rise from his palm like a cloud of mist, and covered the jade green stem. The stem continued to absorb the primeval essence, and eventually a bud started to grow from deep within the stem. This budding was pinkish-green, small, delicate and very fragile, breaking upon contact. Fang Yuan continued to use his primeval essence, and the bud grew bigger, its color deepening. Eventually it grew into a piece of dark green color, a completely mature leaf. I used up 20% of my primeval essence. Fang Yuan inspected his aperture and concluded. He only had 44% primeval essence in his sea, that meant that he could only create 2 vitality leaves at one go. After creating another piece, Fang Yuan grabbed a piece of primeval stone and rapidly recovered the primeval essence in his aperture. When the primeval essence rose to 40%, he nurtured the vitality leaf again. Rinsing and repeating like this after half a day, he had finally made the 9-leaf vitality grass grow back to 9 full leaves. He did not pluck the leaves this time, but with a thought, kept the 9-leaf vitality grass back into his left palm, turning it back into a green insignia. He took the leaves that he plucked and placed them into a small bag, bringing it with him. A piece of vitality leaf was a rank 1 GU worm, each worth around 50 primeval stones in the market. This meant that with just these 9 leaves, it could allow Fang Yuan to earn 450 primeval stones. Of course, he incurred costs in creating them, but excluding costs, he still profited around 400 primeval stones. Among all of the family assets, the most valuable one was no doubt this 9-leaf vitality grass. Owning it was tantamount to owning a gold mine. And this 9-leaf vitality grass had an advantage too, it was easy to feed. It only needed water and sunlight to survive, thus there was virtually no cost in raising it. To Fang Yuan, he could give up all the other family assets, but for this 9-leaf vitality grass, he needed to grasp it firmly in his hands. Of course, this type of 9-leaf vitality grass GU was not owned by Fang Yuan alone. In the village, others held this grass GU as well. In fact, there were 5 9-leaf vitality grass GU that was collective property owned by the clan. Every day there were specialized GU masters whose missions were to create large numbers of vitality leaves. To Fang Yuan, this is a good thing. If he alone had the 9-leaf vitality grass, the clan would definitely strike and buy this grass GU by force. Just like how GU Yu Qingshu represented the clan and came to buy his liquor worm. Precious GU like liquor worm, black and white boar GU and the 9-leaf vitality grass, the clan higher-ups all wanted to control it and make it useful for the whole clan. 3 days later, a light ball under Fang Yuan's supervision suddenly exploded, and a new GU worm floated in midair slowly. It was sparkling and translucent, bent like a crescent, resembling a piece of water blue crystal. In a nutshell, it was like the Moonlight GU that was enlarged in size by twofold. Yet it was not the Moonlight GU, but the higher-ranking rank 2 Moonglow GU. This time, Fang Yuan's fusion succeeded. The Moonglow GU is made by fusing a Moonlight GU and 2 Little Light GU. A Little Light GU can raise the power of the Moonblade by 100%, but 2 Little Light GU still raised its power by 100%, this boost was not additive. But the refined rank 2 Moonglow GU, its attack power reached 3 times of the Moonlight GU. Actually, there are many different recipes to refine the Moonlight GU, and it has many advancement paths. Fang Yuan took this path to raise the Moonblade's attack power to the limit. The attacking range remained unchanged, it still had a scope of 10 meters. There was a route, using the Moonlight GU and the Stone Scar GU to perform fusion, the result would be the Moon Scar GU. Its attack power remained unchanged, but the range doubled, reaching 20 meters. There was another common route, which was using the Moonlight GU with the Whirlwind GU to fuse, creating the Moonwhirl GU. Using it, the Moonblade turns from blue to green, and at the same time its attack trajectory becomes curved. GUU Qing Shu took this path. As for GUU Fang Zheng, he used the Moonlight GU and Jade Skin GU to create the Moon Raiment. This was a rare route and had an upper limit of rank 5, becoming the Moonlight Treasure King GU. However, having a rank 5 recipe did not mean it was definitely possible to create a rank 5 GU worm. Many rank 5 GU masters did not have a single rank 5 GU in their possession. What causes this awkward situation is not a lack of ingredients, but the success rate. GU fusion was not a 100% success rate. The higher the ranking of the GU worm you are trying to refine, the lower the success rate. In his previous life, Fang Yuan's Spring-Autumn Cicada had a success rate of less than 1%, and it failed countless times. Sometimes, he was lucky and less GU worms died, other times, all the GU worms died together. To refine the rank 6 Spring-Autumn Cicada, it needed all rank 5 GU worms. Once these GU worms die, all of Fang Yuan's hard work and accumulation would go up into smoke, becoming an illusion. Fang Yuan failed countless times and started over many times, fusing once again and collecting GU worms and special ingredients all over again. Eventually, he caused too much of a commotion and incurred a public outrage, causing the will of the people to become disorganized, and many deaths forming seas of blood and floating corpses. He was lucky though, as he finally succeeded and obtained the Spring-Autumn Cicada. But once he obtained this rank 6 GU, all the righteous cultivators who were eyeing his GU all along came to attack, and before he even got a chance to familiarize himself with the GU, he suicided. Thousands of millions of years, it was because of this disgusting failure rate that caused many high-ranking GU masters to waste their efforts and go back to square one. The only way was to slightly curb this failure rate. And that is, Vital GU. No matter the fusion result, failure or success, the Vital GU never dies. At most it gets injured. Why? Many people guessed that it was because the Vital GU is the GU Master's first GU worm and is linked to the GU Master's life, forming a mystical relationship and connection. As long as the GU Master is alive, if the Vital GU's fusion fails, at most it would be almost dead. Of course, the other GU worms used in the fusion had a possibility of death. Even so, a portion of the GU Master's fruits and labor can be preserved and accumulated. The Vital GU is the GU Master's greatest fortune and fallback. Whatever the Vital GU is, it can to a large extent affect the GU Master's development path. Conversely, GU Masters also find new recipes aggressively to raise the level of their Vital GU. Some rank 2 and rank 3 garbage recipes, to GU Masters, it worsened their future prospects. When Fang Yuan found that the Spring-Autumn Cicada had become his Vital GU, why was he so happy? This was why. The Spring-Autumn Cicada was an extremely rare GU worm, allowing others to rebirth. It was a heaven-defying ability. No matter how it is refined, it will not die. If this was Fang Yuan's previous life where the Spring-Autumn Cicada was not his Vital GU, if he continued refining, it could potentially die. Spring-Autumn Cicada was rank 6, something many GU Masters would never be able to reach in their lifetime. An extremely large number of GU Masters did not even have a rank 6 recipe, and are still desperately searching. Spring-Autumn Cicada, although unable to be used to its full potential by the current Fang Yuan, was still his greatest treasure. The Flower Wine Monk's inheritance compared to this, was a difference between heaven and earth. Chapter 107. Chapter 107. Skillfully earning primeval stones, ill-intent customers come to wreak havoc. The cold snow came to an end, and spring wind took its place. Without realizing it, winter had already passed, and the days of spring arrived. The frozen mountain creek began to flow again. The ice cones under the eaves of bamboo buildings and trees were sparkling and translucent, dripping water in the sunlight. In the morning, the wine tavern was quite empty, there were not many drinkers. Fang Yuan sat inside at the seat near the window. According to his request, the surrounding was covered by wooden plank screens, creating a small room for him. A gust of wind blew in from the window, and the fresh and fragrant smell of the earth was wedged between the air, letting people who smelled it feel carefree and pleased. Zhang Ya sat opposite Fang Yuan, his face full of smiles. These are the primeval stones this time, please confirm it. He took out 4 money bags, placing them on the table and pushing it towards Fang Yuan. What was inside the money bag was naturally primeval stones. Fang Yuan did not open them one by one, but checked their weight by holding them in his hand. He had over 100 years of experience making deals and transactions, so he could easily tell the number of primeval stones in his hands. One lesson he could immediately tell. This was nothing special, to be honest. On Earth, there was an oil seller who placed a coin on the bottleneck and dripped oil inside, where the oil dripped in a line and entered the bottle through the tiny hole without any spillage. There was another divine shooter who could shoot tree leaves at 100% accuracy from 100 meters away. There was also a butcher who worked for many years, using his hands to check the weight. He could tell their exact weight and when scaled, was exactly as he said. How to train such a skill? Nothing else but, practice makes perfect. Accumulation of experience, when enough, can stir up a miracle. After his rebirth, this kind of experience was naturally brought over as well. Fang Yuan used his hand to check, and on finding no problems, he then took out a small cloth bag and gave it to Zhang Ya. Zhang Ya received it with both hands and opened the bag, checking the quantity carefully. Although Fang Yuan had 9 vitality leaves in his possession, he did not plan to sell it himself. If it was Jiu Dong too, he would rather do this to sustain his social relationships and increase his influence. But Fang Yuan was reluctant to do this. It wasted too much time and effort. Thus, he sold them all to Zhang Ya, who was a shop owner, so Zhang Ya could sell the rank 1 healing grass Jiu to the clansmen. Zhang Ya is Zhang He's brother, and when Fang Yuan was searching for the liquor worm, they met before. His brother was even Fang Yuan's half-alliance mate, thus, having him take over the transaction and sell to the clan, was a reliable method. 1, 2, 3, 9. Indeed, it is 9 vitality leaves. Zhang Ya counted 3 times before closing the bag and carefully keeping the bag close to his body. Next, he raised his cup, toasting to Fang Yuan. Lord Fang Yuan, happy doing business with you, let me toast you. His gaze towards Fang Yuan carried deep admiration, even turning into a hint of jealousy. A year ago, when it was also spring, the first time he met Fang Yuan, the latter was still a student at the academy, not even having the rights to wear the GU Master's battle attire. But now, Fang Yuan was not only wearing battle attire, his belt was also red color, and a square steel piece in the center of the belt, a rank 2 GU Master. However, he himself was still a rank 1, carrying a green-colored belt. Never mind that, what made him jealous was, after getting the inheritance, Fang Yuan turned from a pauper into a tycoon. He owned the wine tavern, bamboo buildings as well as the 9-leaf vitality grass. It was all fortune that Zhang Ya would never be able to earn throughout his lifetime. But, Zhang Ya did not dare to show his deep emotion of jealousy. Fang Yuan sold the vitality leaves to him and allowed him to earn the difference in price. Fang Yuan is already his money tree, and Zhang Ya no longer dared to offend this junior. Sigh, comparing among people is odious. Zhang Ya held the cup. His face was full of smiles, but in his heart, he was sighing deeply. Fang Yuan raised his cup and drank it in one shot. Zhang Ya's expression, although secretive, with Fang Yuan's old fox wits, how could he not tell? Fang Yuan did not put it to heart, for if Zhang Ya was not jealous, it showed that he had much greater heart, and that would make Fang Yuan think more highly of him. But, he stared at Fang Yuan's small fortune and got jealous. This showed how little his world was, insignificant. Drinking with him was solely because he still had some value to exploit. Zhang Ya put down the cup, excitedly saying, the clan's vitality leaves are sold at 55 primeval stones apiece. I followed your instructions and only sold our grass GU at 50 primeval stones, and the demand is overwhelming. Lord, why don't you make more leaves daily, that way we can earn much more. Fang Yuan listened and slowly shook his head, rejecting outright, no, creating 9 leaves is already my limit, it is already wasting much of my cultivating time. This was the difference between Fang Yuan and a mere frog like Zhang Ya. In Fang Yuan's perspective, primeval stones were just a cultivating resource, a tool. It is all for his cultivating needs. However, Zhang Ya treated primeval stones as his life goal, thus he cultivates in order to earn more primeval stones. But even if Fang Yuan only made 9 leaves a day, he could earn 400 primeval stones daily, and with the accumulation, the fortune in his hands also grew to an amazing level. Seeing Fang Yuan's rejection, Zhang Ya did not dare to push his luck, only moving his lips in pity, then continuing to pour wine for Fang Yuan enthusiastically and then for himself. Indeed, he He exclaimed, Lord has such great fortune, you do not have to waste time and effort daily. In my opinion, why does Lord have to stay in that poor old rented flat? Why don't you empty out a bamboo building and stay there yourself? Then marrying a beautiful wife, and having 7 or 8 family servants to take care of you. That is truly the dream life. Hee hee. Fang Yuan laughed lightly, not saying anything. How could a farmer understand the ambitions of the conqueror? He turned around, looking outside the window. House after house, the bamboo roofs had remnant snow, bathing under the bright and beautiful light of spring. Far away was a willow tree, the branches of yellow-green soft leaves rolling down, gently swishing in the soft spring breeze. Fang Yuan's gaze was slightly blank as he thought about his current predicament. After solving the problem of Fang Zheng, the family asset could be said to be in the bag. The white jade Gu and moonglow Gu were successfully refined, he now covered attack and defense. What came next was the liquor worm. But the liquor worm was troublesome. To refine the 4-flavor liquor worm, he needed a second liquor worm, as well as sweet, sour, bitter and spicy, 4 types of wine. These things, he had no idea where to get. I definitely have to refine the liquor worm. Without it, my progress will be slower by at least half. But to refine the 4-flavor liquor worm, I will need to wait for the caravan and borrow that chance to showcase my white jade Gu. That way, I can show off my true fighting strength and stop hiding my abilities. Fang Yuan had the moonglow Gu and the white jade Gu. Together with his 500 years of combat experience, he was stronger than most rank 2 Gu masters. Slightly famous group leaders like Sickly Snake Zhao San, if fighting one-on-one with Fang Yuan, might not be his match. But against Kai Shan, Mo Yan and Qing Shu, Fang Yuan was still weaker. One was insufficient cultivation level, Fang Yuan was only a rank 2 initial stage, but they were upper or even peak stage. Next was the lack of strong Gu worms. Fang Yuan only had 2 battle Gu worms, but they all had at least 3 and even hidden trump cards. Among the same age group, Fang Zheng, Mo Bei and Kai Cheng were already showing their dominance, no doubt. Especially Fang Zheng, now that he had obtained the rank 2 moon raiment, he already has the ability to fight with Fang Yuan. As time passes, his cultivation level will get higher and eventually he will leave Fang Yuan in the dust. Unless Fang Yuan can fuse the 4-flavor liquor worm and maintain the same cultivating speed as Fang Zheng. As for the higher ranks, those rank 3 or rank 4 Gu masters. To Fang Yuan, battle results aside, even keeping his life is a difficult thing, not to mention challenging a higher rank. Transcending rank was very difficult. One was that Fang Yuan did not have trump cards, and 2 he does not have talent. Even with his rich fighting experience, a woman cannot cook without rice, without a strong Gu worm, his experience cannot display their worth. If I can successfully fuse the 4-flavor liquor worm, my cultivating speed will be satisfactory. But I also have to replenish my Gu worms. Defense I have white jade Gu, offense I have moonglow Gu, healing I have 9-leaf vitality grass, but I need a movement type and recon type Gu. These 2 although are support types, they can cover up my weakness and at least triple-fold my fighting strength. Fang Yuan pondered. He did not need to learn step by step, with his rich life experience, he already knew the direction to take. Beside him, Zhang Ya's voice came, I heard, recently someone is finding trouble with you, Lord. Purposely finding trouble at your bamboo building and wine tavern. Fang Yuan frowned, his train of thoughts were broken. But Zhang Ya was right. Fang Yuan had investigated, this was his uncle Gu Dongtu's act. After Gu Qing Shu warned his uncle, he did not dare to use Fang Zheng to instigate trouble anymore. But after waiting for a while, the indignance and anger in his heart rose, and using his relationships, he got a few Gu masters to find trouble at Fang Yuan's places. People who do business hate these kinds of problems. Thus, recently, he had been finding time to look after the locations. Owner, someone is finding trouble again. At this time, a clerk carried a scared expression and walked towards Fang Yuan. Oh, Fang Yuan's brows raised, not expecting to encounter this immediately. Not waiting for Fang Yuan to react, Zhang Ya stood up abruptly, eagerly saying, wait a moment Lord, let me go see. He walked out of the partition and came back almost immediately. It is Gu Manshi. Zhang Ya's expression was pale, suppressing his voice. His gaze revealed shock and worry. Gu Manshi. Fang Yuan did things carefully and knew the importance of information. During this period, he had gotten the information of all the rank 2 Gu masters in the clan, and memorized most of them. Gu Manshi is a slightly famous Gu master, specializing in defense and having a great strength, being the Manshi group's leader. In terms of fame, he was higher than Zhao San by a little. Bam! Smashing sound came from outside. Thereafter, a coarse and arrogant voice resounded, "Blah, what sort of wine is this? Tastes like horseshit, you dare sell this to me?" HMPH. Fang Yuan's gaze shone with cold light as he stood up. Chapter 108. Chapter 108. That pair of eyes. Zhang Ya saw that Fang Yuan intended to go out, and hurriedly stopped him. "Lord Fang Yuan, a wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. This manshi is very strong, one of the few people who managed to escape for their lives from Bai Ningbing, he cannot be underestimated. Using his loss as a glorious fame, what fear is there for these kinds of people?" Fang Yuan laughed lightly, stretching his hand to put it on Zhang Ya's shoulder. "Just sit here and drink away." "Lord," Zhang Ya was about to urge again, but he met with Fang Yuan's icy gaze. The chilliness in Fang Yuan's eyes caused his heart to stop. He was tongue-tied, helplessly sitting on the chair again while Fang Yuan took a few strides and left the partitioned room, walking towards the main hall. He saw that at the center on a square table, a rank 2 GU master had one foot stepping on a stool while another stepping on the table. His body was slightly short, but his arms and waist were thick. With a thick black beard, extending downwards from his cheeks to meet at his chin, his body emitted a strong aura of ferociousness. The ground near him had broken wine pot fragments, and most of the liquor had seeped into the ground along the concrete cracks on the floor. Only 2 or 3 puddles of wine accumulated on the surface, or in the broken pots. The shopkeeper old man bowed his head low as he apologized in trepidation. "Lord, please be appeased, if this wine is not to your satisfaction, the shop will give you another brew free of charge." HMPH, I don't want wine. Your wine tastes like shit, why are you opening a shop? Compensation, I must be compensated. My good mood was ruined by you guys, you have to compensate me at least 500 primeval stones. Manshi demanded a ridiculous amount. This is the 3rd time already, it seems this wine tavern has offended some people. Sigh, let's not drink here anymore. Quick, go, when GU masters fight, we mortals suffer. The surrounding people frantically left their seats, only a few GU masters remained and continued their chat. I heard this tavern is opened by Fang Yuan, who is it that is finding fault with him? Oh, the one whose parents died and inherited their fortune, the lad who got rich overnight. No wonder people are doing this, even if it is me, I'd be jealous. Just think, we fight for our lives out there for these fortunes to live a stable life. But he Fang Yuan is merely a newbie, what rights does he have to obtain these things? That's right, even if his ancestors are taking care of their future generations, times have changed. The clan's resources are limited. Everyone can only get a small piece of the pie. How can he, AC-grade talent, enjoy such fortune at this age? Preposterous. Is Manshi trying to anger him into a duel? If they had a GU fight, he might be able to get a piece of the pie. Someone shook his head. Hey, you think those clan elders are fools? Someone nodded. Could be true. The clan policies are there, haven't you guys understood from all these years? To a degree, they allow us to compete, the strong should get more resources, isn't that right? If the weak cannot protect their assets, they would have to give it up. It is all for the clan's prosperity. Makes sense. Let's see first. There's something going on here. I heard that Manshi has a retired elder behind him, someone suppressed his voice and said. Who dares to leave? All of you stand there, no one is to leave. On the table, Manshi suddenly shouted. Those mortal drinkers were already at the doorstep, but did not dare to disobey, they all stood at the spot in horror. Some of the pedestrians found that there was drama going on and they went to the doorstep, stopping to watch the show. Purely here to find trouble. Fang Yuan upon seeing this scene, his face was emotionless, but his eyes glinted with cold light. Manshi saw him. Oh, you are that Fang Yuan, right? Junior, your wine tavern is cheating my money with your horrible wine. However, since you are a newbie, I'll give you a chance to repent and apologize in public. If not, others will say that I, Manshi, is bullying a junior with my status. Ha ha ha. Manshi laughed loudly. As long as you apologize and bow to me, this matter will be over. I walk my talk, I will do as I promised. He patted his chest in thunderous volume, showing an air of magnanimity, but his intention could not lie to the surrounding GU masters. What a bastard move. That's right, if Fang Yuan apologized, he would no longer be able to raise his head, and anyone would come over and step on him and bully his weakness. But if he does not apologize, that is disrespecting a senior, and with such an attitude, the entire community will keep him away. Yeah, he's stuck with two difficult decisions. Oh my, what the fuck. The GU masters whispered, but suddenly someone's mouth went wide open, able to swallow a duck's egg. The remaining GU masters were in a similar state. Some stared until their eyeballs almost fell out. Some choked and spilled out the wine in their mouths. Some stared in utter disbelief, like statues. They were here to watch a show, an enjoyable show. In the end, Fang Yuan not only satisfied their wish, but also gave them a great surprise. The young man instantly flicked his wrist and shot a moonblade out. Pew! The moonblade of the Moonglow GU. The eerie blue crescent fang flew in the air, as large as a face. Trailing along a square desk, it was quickly cut like tofu into two halves. Man-Shi's laughter stood, his pupils dilated as the moonblade became increasingly larger in his eyes. In the blink of an eye, the eerie blue moonblade was already near his face, showing every single strand of his mustache with its glow. Facing strong feelings of death, at the very last moment, Man-Shi screamed out in panic, "Monolith GU." Immediately, his entire body had a deep gray light. His skin turned and became rock skin. But before it had fully grown, the moonblade had already hit his chest. With a light sound, the rock skin tore open and Man-Shi's chest became a large diagonal injury. Blood spilled and poured out of his large wound. Ah! Intense pain rushed through his nerves as Man-Shi shouted out in horror, his voice full of disbelief and shock. He had never expected Fang Yuan to attack immediately without a single word. He dared to attack, in the village, directly using a GU worm and attacking a clansman. Not to say Man-Shi, even the onlookers showed utter disbelief, and were lost for words. What situation is this? Is this lad crazy? Not saying a word and immediately going for a fatal attack. Isn't he afraid of killing Man-Shi and being arrested by the punishment hall, paying for his crimes? Young men are way too rash. Did you guys see that moonblade? It is definitely not the Moonlight GU but the Moonglow GU, to think Fang Yuan succeeded in his fusion already. Fang Yuan, what are you doing? Man-Shi stood on the square table, tearing his throat and screaming in a thunderous volume with a face full of ruthlessness. His entire body's muscles bulged, growing into rock skin at a deeper intensity. The injury was also covered by the rock skin, but large amount of blood still poured out, although less of a fountain. Fang Yuan's face was calm as he continued his walk. He did not talk, or rather, he did not have the intention to talk. He made another move to reply to Man-Shi. Another moonblade. Pew! The moonblade flew across the short distance and shot out. Man-Shi had no time to talk, but raised his arms and protected his brain and chest. His limbs were covered with a thick deep gray-colored rock, as if arms made from a statue, sturdy and thick. The moonblade hit his arms, cutting a deep wound, numerous small rock fragments flying out. The moonblade's strength caused Man-Shi's body to fly backwards. His entire body was made of rocks, causing his weight to rise drastically. Finally, the table under him could not bear the weight, and with a crack, it collapsed completely. Man-Shi lost his footing and fell on the ground, his defenses revealing a weakness. Fang Yuan walked slowly, his eyes shining in cold light as he captured the weakness, and fired another moonblade at it. The moonblade tore through the air and emitted a swooshing sound of the wind. Man-Shi hurriedly raised his hands, but he underestimated Fang Yuan's intense battle experience. Although the moonblade was moving straight, it tunneled for an angle not parallel to the ground. Man-Shi's arm could block half of the moonblade, but the other half hit his chest. Injury on top of injury, Man-Shi's chest had even greater blood loss now. Is he going to kill him? The GU masters who were originally sitting on the seat could not stand it any longer, and they all got up. The mortals did not dare to make any noise. They watched in fear and anticipation. GU masters killing each other, it triggered something that had been repressed in their hearts all along. Man-Shi breathed heavily, wanting to climb up. But due to his injuries, the intense pain caused his hard work to be wasted as he crashed on the ground once again with a thump. Fang Yuan walked over slowly. Man-Shi lost a lot of blood, and his face was pale. He stared at Fang Yuan in horror. Fang Yuan was walking slowly with a cold expression, getting closer, bringing him greater pressure by the second. Fang Yuan, you cannot kill me. Killing me, you will be arrested by the punishment hall. Man-Shi pushed against the floor, trying to move backwards. He was still bleeding, and along with his body, carved a bright red line on the concrete. The gallery was silent. Everyone was stunned by Fang Yuan's cold aura and held their breaths as they wanted. Nobody felt that Man-Shi was a worthless piece of shit. Without any composure, they would not have fared any better if they were in his shoes. Fang Yuan walked to Man-Shi, raised a leg and harshly stepped on his chest injury. The pain caused Man-Shi to draw in a cold breath. Fang Yuan continued to stomp, and Manshi began to feel immense pain, like a wild boar charging around was trampling him repeatedly. He could not endure it any longer, screaming loudly. Even with the thick rock skin's protection, his chest was still enduring great pressure from Fang Yuan, and the injury area was still overflowing with blood. More importantly, Fang Yuan's right hand was covered in an eerie blue moonlight, held in place but not fired yet. This was the symptom before a moonblade attack. Manshi thought this worriedly as he did not dare to move a muscle. You cannot kill me. He stared with his eyes wide open, growling in difficulty. I won't kill you. Fang Yuan said the first sentence since he arrived. His tone was flat, and in the dead silent wine tavern, it reverbed into everyone's ears. But I can cripple you, breaking one of your arms, or a leg. According to the clan rules, I have to compensate you a number of primeval stones and be imprisoned for some time. But what about you? Your remaining life would be spent in bed, your injury would reduce your battle capability greatly, and you shall no longer be able to execute missions. Do you think this result is acceptable for you? Fang Yuan stared down at the sprawling Manshi, slowly reasoning. The emotionless voice traveled into Manshi's ears, causing his heart to stop and his body to shudder. He opened his mouth, breathing heavily, his brain becoming more chaotic. Fang Yuan's leg exerted strength that made him feel like he was being crushed by a rock, making him feel harder to breathe. Damn it, damn it. If I was on guard, if I was not caught off guard and were injured at the start, how could he uck? Manshi's voice came to an abrupt stop as his gaze met with Fang Yuan's eyes. He lay on the ground, staring upwards. Fang Yuan's half-narrowed eyes, dark and eerily looking down on him. Just what sort of pair of eyes was that? If it was full of killing intent, Manshi would not be afraid. However, this pair of eyes was filled with indifference. This indifference was like arrogance towards reality, the disdain towards people of the world, the trampling of life and the abandonment of rules. This pair of eyes, Manshi's eyes shrunk into pin size as the deepest memory in his heart played. The nightmare of his life. 2 years ago, at night in the bamboo forest. A young man in white clothing, similarly trampling him under his feet. Damn it, god damn it. If I had refined the monolith Gu, how could you break my defense? Death was impending, he screamed with his life, full of indignance. Oh, in that case, I shall not kill you. The white-clothed young man's lips curled, revealing a smile full of interest. Go back to the village and cultivate harder. Refine the monolith Gu and let's have a match again. He, I hope that in the future, you can bring a tint of excitement to my life. Saying so, the young man lifted his feet, sparing him. Manshi breathed roughly, lying on the ground, not expecting this turn of events. He stared at this white-clothed young man in shock. The young man looked at him like an ant, saying indifferently, why aren't you scramming? Manshi's body shook as he hurriedly got up and made his escape. This white-clothed young man was none other than Bai Village's #1 genius, Bai Ningbing. Back then, he was only rank 2, but could already kill rank 3 clan elders. Manshi escaping from him and preserving his life caused his fame to shoot up. Through the 2 years, Bai Ningbing's facial expression had become a blur in his memories, and he could only remember those eyes. Eyes that looked at the common life, the world with indifference. The high and mighty iris, hiding an unbelievable pride that mortals cannot comprehend. To think that in his own village, he could see these eyes. At this moment, Manshi's heart was filled with terror, the indignance and anger in his heart dissipating without a drop of fighting spirit left. Fang Yuan closely observed Manshi's facial expression. The young man was slightly shocked, not expecting Manshi to be so cowardly. But, never mind just a cowardly mouse. Fang Yuan's objective was achieved, and he let go of his leg. You can scram now. Manshi felt like he had heard a divine mantra as he rolled and climbed out of the tavern with a pale face. The audience were stunned. Fang Yuan stood on the spot, his gaze sweeping the area. The surrounding Gu masters, rank 1 and some rank 2, avoided his gaze subconsciously. The shopkeeper and clerks were all terrified and excitedly worshipped him. Who did not want a strong backer? Behind him, Zhongya was staring dumbfounded. He heard a commotion and ran out, but saw Fang Yuan chasing away Manshi. That is Gu Manshi. His heart was shocked to the limit, and his gaze towards Fang Yuan changed. Jealousy had vanished. At this point, Zhongya understood why Fang Yuan had such an achievement. Because he was never the same kind of person as myself. Chapter 109. Chapter 109. Treehouse hides the liquor worm. Gu Manshi was defeated by the newbie Fang Yuan. The news spread quickly and caused small waves of gossip among rank 2 GU masters. Everyone was familiar with the two main characters of this event. Man Shi was a slightly famous rank 2 GU master who had managed to escape with his life under Bai Ningbing's hands. He was not to be sniffed at. And Fang Yuan was the year's champion. Many had witnessed him defeating Fang Zheng at the yearly assessment. He also obtained his family inheritance and became rich overnight, causing many to become green with envy. The gap between the two was clear, but against all expectations, the weaker Fang Yuan had defeated the stronger Man Shi. Such a discrepancy really caught the people by surprise. As more and more people continued to discuss the event, Fang Yuan's fame also rose. Rank 2 GU masters began to take this young junior seriously. He directly attacked without saying a word. Young people are too impulsive. He has wealth and has also refined Moonglow GU, he has some ability. He is a lunatic, he is too hard-handed. Reportedly, GUU Man Shi had to lie in bed for at least 3 days to recover from his injuries. People commented on Fang Yuan. He had made a sudden attack on Man Shi, initiating a head start, inflicting serious injuries on the very first attack and establishing great dominance. It felt like he did not win honestly. However, victory was victory and loss was loss. The result was everything. Maybe on Earth, most would emphasize the process instead of the results, but in this world where survival was arduous, surroundings full of deadly dangers, victory often meant survival and defeat meant death, losing everything. Winners gained everything, losers lost everything. Almost everyone approved this notion. Fang Yuan had won, it was the fact, no matter how he did it. A newbie had sprung up by stepping on Man Shi, entering into everyone's eyes. Man Shi had become a stepping stone, his reputation was destroyed. Once he recovered, he would resign from the group leader position. This was the outcome of a failure. Close relatives would sympathize with the losers, but they respected and acknowledged the winners even more. Winners represented strength and strength meant better security to the people. After this event, GUU Dongtu sensibly stopped his dirty tricks. GUU Man Shi stepping down had finally made the astute uncle aware of the reality. Fang Yuan's growth made him feel helpless, resentment and indignation. He knew he now had no chance of seizing the inheritance. Continuing was meaningless. He had used his connections and employed other people to find trouble for Fang Yuan, this consumed his primeval stones. Yet Fang Yuan had profits coming from all sides. In case the stalemate continued, even if he had a large amount of primeval stones, the final loser would definitely be he, himself. Because he lost the bamboo houses, wine tavern and 9 leaves vitality grass, he was now without any source of income. The used primeval stones would be difficult to replenish. By contrast, Fang Yuan lacked primeval stones but it was increasing day by day. The main point was that GUU Dongtu dispiritedly realized that the stalemate would not have any benefits. Thus, when he heard Man Shi running away in defeat, he immediately stopped these meaningless actions. In fact, when Fang Zheng had not been able to create trouble for Fang Yuan, it already signified GUU Dongtu's defeat. With this, Fang Yuan's wine tavern's business returned to normal, which was a joyous thing. There was another joyous matter, the caravan would be coming early. March. In the bright and beautiful spring sunshine, the light song of the days of spring treaded a lively and cheerful beat as it arrived. With the warmth of spring, flowers bloomed and grasses grew wildly. Qingmao Mountain was a scene of green as far as the eye could see. Wild flowers blossomed on the sunny side of the hills, forming a colorful and gorgeous sea of flowers. The gurgling and burbling river surged up like a flame and entangled with the sunshine. Newborn dragon-pill crickets came out of their eggs and formed a batch of new swarms, enlivening the nighttime. At daytime, a large flock of colorful peacock parrots hovered in the air, chirping and twittering. The warm spring spread its favor and kindness, letting all living things grow in brilliance. In such a scenery, a caravan was slowly making its way to Qingmao Mountain. Fat black beetles were slowly moving forward, their backs filled with people and goods. Proud ostriches with brightly colored feathers were pulling handcarts. Hairy mountain spiders disregarded the terrains, winged snakes twisted and snaked forward, occasionally opening its wings and flying forward. A treasure brass toad was leading the caravan. It was 2.5 meters tall, its entire body orange-yellow in color. On its back was the rank 4 GU master, Jia Fu. After the caravan stationed in the village, Fang Yuan sighed inwardly, it changed again. In my previous memories, this caravan should have arrived in summer. According to the previous precedents too, the caravan should have only come in summer. Now, however, it has come in spring, 2-3 months earlier. And its scale is also much bigger. Fang Yuan's rebirth changed his current situation and similarly also influenced his surroundings, creating changes in the future. The root cause should be due to him killing Jia Jinsheng. Fang Yuan had deceived everyone, so Jia Fu mistakenly believed Jia Jinsheng's death was a conspiracy by his rival, Jia Gui. After Jia Fu returned to the clan, he had taken radical steps which made the competition between them more intense. To strive for exceptional achievements, the Jia brothers rushed out even before the year's snow had completely melted, leading the caravans to peddle their goods everywhere. The clan leader Jiu Bo received Jia Fu. The two rank 4 Jiu masters were the leaders of the both sides. Brother Jiu, I trust you have been well. Jia Fu was full of smiles and warmth, but his face had a long scar now. Ha ha ha, brother Jia Fu, you are quite early this year. Jiu Bo looked at the scar on Jia Fu's face. His heart jolted but he didn't ask about it. The early bird gets the worm. This time, I have brought many precious goods and I believe the noble Jiu clan will have lots of needs. Jia Fu had made a big effort this time to fight for better achievements. Yes, this is good news. Jiu Bo's eyes flashed. Continuing on, it just so happens that the day after tomorrow is our clan's awakening ceremony, and I would like to invite Brother Jia to attend it. Haha, it is my honor to be able to witness the prosperity of Jiu clan. Jia Fu immediately cupped his hands and sincerely replied. Inviting others to watch the clan's awakening ceremony was treating them as honored guests. Jia Fu could feel Jiu clan's sincerity from this invitation. In fact, there is also another matter. Jia Fu hesitated. You have come from afar, so if you have any requests, please say it. Our clan will definitely do our best to fulfill it. Jiu Bo said. Jia Fu sighed, it is regarding Jia Jinsheng's matter. I have especially brought over a few investigation experts from the clan, and I hope that in the course of our investigation, you can allow us some convenience. Jiu Bo immediately revealed a look of understanding. Apparently, Jia Jinsheng's death had caused Jia Fu to fall into an awkward and passive situation in the competition for family assets. It was said that after returning to the clan, Jia Fu had squabbled with Jia Gui in public and the situation had erupted into an intense fight. The scar on his face could very well be a trace from that fight. It was no wonder he had come running over at the start of spring, he had a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Fang Yuan was strolling around tents and street stalls. The scale of this year's caravan was much bigger than any of the previous years. Not only were there more tents, there was also a Jiu house. Jiu house was something only large-scale caravans had. A large-scale caravan usually had 2 to 3 Jiu houses. Jia Fu's caravan was at most a middle scale, but it had a Jiu house. This Jiu house was a large tree. It was 18 meters tall and it really seemed to reach to the sky. Its roots and branches were twisted like the tangling of dragons and snakes. The diameter of the trunk at the base was 10 meters, it decreased as it went up but the decrease wasn't that visible. The brown trunk was not actually a single entity, and had 3 layers of space inside. There were also windows on the trunk. Sunlight and fresh air passed through the window and entered the 3 layers of space inside. The branches and leaves seemed to be scarce on the trunk. Only at the treetop was it verdant and lush. The spring wind blew, and the tree leaves shook and created soft rustling sounds. This was the most common type of Jiu house. The rank 3 plant Jiu named 3-star cave. It could instantly grow once primeval essence was poured into it. There were 3 rooms arranged in these 3 layers of space. The defensive power of these rooms were incomparable to that of the tents. In the continuous stretch of tents, an enormous tree was standing aloft in the middle like a tower, it was like a crane among a flock of chicken. At the base of the enormous tree, there were 2 wide doors used as entrance. Fang Yuan followed the stream of people and walked into the enormous tree. The tree had 3 layers of space which were transformed into the layout of stores. There were rows of counters inside and on them were displayed all kinds of Jiu worms. These counters were made of wood and were a part of the enormous tree. On top of growing green leaves and branches, the 3-star cave tree Jiu could grow different designs according to the Jiu master's will. Apart from these counters, there were stools and benches for the customers to rest upon. A rank 3 support Jiu master was constantly operating and monitoring the situation from somewhere in this enormous tree. In case someone snatched the Jiu worms in the counters, the monitoring Jiu master could operate the enormous tree to immediately close the doors and create a momentary prison cell. Countless branches would be madly grown and perform group attacks. At the same time, the security Jiu masters in the tree would also make their moves. The tree house was much more secure than the tents and so the goods sold inside were more precious. Fang Yuan had just entered the first layer when he saw a lone counter in the middle and on it was a liquor worm. Many GU masters were surrounding this liquor worm, assessing it. Some clicked their tongues in admiration. Fang Yuan swept his eyes over the place, where the other counters also displayed many precious GU worms. There were Jade Skin GU, Whirlwind GU, Scar Stone GU and so on. All these GU worms were compatible with the Moonlight GU and could fuse into higher rank GU worms. Jia Fu wasn't completely clear on these fusion recipes, but with his many years of business experience, he knew which GU worms the GUU clan might need more. Naturally, Jia Fu's caravan isn't just targeting the GUU village, he is really making an all-out effort this time. It seems he was thoroughly provoked when he returned to the clan. Fang Yuan's heart moved when he saw this. Chapter 110. Chapter 110. Old woman, you're too tender. Liquor worm, Fang Yuan lightly muttered, walking to the side of the center reception desk. He only needed this liquor worm, along with the sweet, spicy, sour, bitter, 4 types of wine, to refine the 4 flavors liquor worm. Of course, such a fusion also entailed a chance of failure. But if Fang Yuan did not have a second liquor worm, he does not even have a chance to try. This is life after all, hard work does not mean results, nor success. But if one does not work hard, they are destined to fail. The demonic path was the same, the demonic cultivators are good at clearing obstacles in their way, bravely advancing in their paths. To most people in the world, they were seen as extremists and adventurous. I was still worried earlier as to where to find a second liquor worm. To think that fate sent this liquor worm right to my doorstep. The chance is in front of me, how can I give up? I must get this liquor worm. Fang Yuan's eyes shone with determination. If my cultivation reaches rank 4 or 5, with a strong fighting capability, I would snatch it away without a thought, killing gods and slaying Buddhas in my way. If I was rank 3 or 4, with my ample experience, I can steal it without anyone finding out. Sadly I am just a rank 2 now, in fact I'm just initial stage. Fang Yuan sighed in his heart, I can only purchase it fair and square like this. He looked at the price on the counter. Liquor worm, 500 primeval stones. The liquor worm's normal price is 580 primeval stones. The price here was actually 80 pieces cheaper than the market. But if Fang Yuan really thinks he can spend 500 primeval stones to buy this liquor worm, then his 500 years of living would have been in vain. The low price was just to attract customers and trigger people's mentality and greed into buying it. This treehouse was obviously Jia Fu's asset. Grandma, this liquor worm is only 500 primeval stones. A young girl walked in, screaming in shock. The young girl's eyes were glowing, shaking her grandmother's hand. Grandma, tomorrow is the awakening ceremony. Didn't you promise to give me a present? Why don't you give this liquor worm to me? The young girl's grandma had a white waist belt, and the belt had a square silver piece with the number 3 on it. Once a GU master reaches rank 3 cultivation, they automatically ascend to clan elder position. Only that among clan elders, there were differences. There were elders in power who held great political power. While others were not, they would only be controlling the departments with little profits. But this rank 3 elder was not those weak clan elders. Gu Yao Ji, Fang Yuan recognized her immediately, this was the Medicine Hall's clan elder. The Medicine Hall is the clan's support faction, it can be said to be the most lucrative department. Gu Yao Ji had very great influence due to her seniority, even towards the clan leader, she could do away with paying respects and reply while sitting. She was the #1 healing GU master in the clan and had saved many lives of the clan elders, thus having very strong network in the clan. Alright, if my obedient granddaughter wants it, grandma will buy for you. The old woman's face was full of wrinkles. She was a hunchback and had a walking cane in one hand, helplessly sighing and saying with a benevolent face. Grandma is the best, I knew grandma dotes on me the most. The young girl happily grabbed Gu Yao Ji, joyfully planting her lips on her grandma's cheek. Then grandma, let's call the shop assistant and buy this liquor worm immediately. Gu Yao Ji shook her head, my lovely granddaughter, the GU worm here isn't bought like that. Let granny teach you, you see that stack of paper and pen over at the counter. The young girl nodded, I see it. Gu Yao Ji said, go get a piece of paper and use the pen to write down the price of the liquor worm. After that, stuff it into the hole. If among all the bidders, your price is the highest, this liquor worm will belong to you. So that's it, very interesting. The young girl took a bamboo paper and held the pen, but hesitated when writing down. Her lovely eyebrows frowned as she thought hard for a moment, then finally pouting her lips, she said, "Grandma, what price would be appropriate? If I set it too low, other people will get the liquor worm, but if I set it too high, I would be making a loss." Gu Yaoji laughed, teasing her, "How can it be so easy to buy the liquor worm? Let's see your luck." "Grandma," the young girl said coquettishly, hogging Gu Yaoji's limp and shaking arm. All right, stop swinging, my body is going to collapse." The old woman sighed, "Grandma will fill it for you." The young girl quickly jumped, saying, "I knew Grandma is the best." Gu Yaoji wrote a price before putting her own name as the young girl watched in anticipation. After she had finished, she folded the paper and signaled to the girl, "Go, put the paper in." The young girl obediently took the paper and found the hole in the counter and stuffed the paper in. She returned beside Gu Yaoji, feeling uncertain. "Grandma, will this do?" The old woman nodded, "That's about it. But life is hard to predict, someone might put a higher price. But that price would be too high. If they really bidded so much, the person who bought this liquor worm is a fool. Don't worry, the liquor worm is in the bag." "Oh," the young girl nodded with a cute expression. "Let's go. Come accompany Grandma upstairs and look around." "Okay, Grandma." Seeing them leave, Fang Yuan's eyes shone with severity. This Gu Yaoji, to him, was a tough competitor, not to be underestimated. But this situation, Fang Yuan had prepared and anticipated it. The liquor worm was precious. Although it was only usable for rank 1 GU masters, the liquor worm could refine primeval essence and that was very useful. Refining primeval essence and raising it by one small stage, this meant that the primeval essence storage increased and this had a great driving force towards GU master cultivation. The only flaw is that the liquor worm did not have a good prospect in the future. According to the popular recipes, liquor worm was only used as a fusion ingredient, and the new GU worm created does not have the primeval essence refining ability. This was too much of a waste. In fact, it was not worth it. Thus, most clans have the liquor worm and did not use it to undergo fusion, but is used by the academy to allow the students to take turns using it. If Fang Yuan exposed his advancement recipe, the liquor worm's market value would rise drastically. Sigh, it is not easy to get this liquor worm. This grandma and granddaughter is just one competitor. I wonder how many others are there who have placed the paper into this hole. Liquor worm was a good thing, and people naturally want good things. Just that among these competitors, some were sincere about buying it, while others were just trying their luck. Some are affluent, like Gu Yaoji, while some were poor, like Fang Yuan. Luckily, I got back the family assets, and these few days of sold some rank 1 vitality leaves, plus the wine tavern and bamboo buildings are all rented out. Thus I could accumulate some savings. If not, I would not even be able to compete. But he had too little time to save up. On one hand he had a lot of GU worms to feed, and in terms of fortune he could not compete with an old woman like Gu Yaoji. Sigh, let's go. Lord Yaoji just tossed in a paper. I saw it too, it seems I'm not fated to have this liquor worm. The GU masters surrounding this counter all left dejected. Only Fang Yuan still stood there. His eyes were like the abyss river, shining with cold light. The GU masters who left were all scared off by Gu Yaoji's aura and backed out of their own accord. But how could Fang Yuan be scared away? Some chances are just in front of you, only that people choose to give it up. I still have a chance. Fang Yuan's brain worked intensely as he fell into deep thought. To compete fortune, Fang Yuan was not her match. Even then. That did not mean that Gu Yaoji's bidding amount was definitely higher than Fang Yuan. Even though the liquor worm was precious, it was still a rank 1 GU worm. The price of any commodity would fluctuate, but it would definitely not rise or fall beyond a certain limit. Thus, all price deviations have a range. The crucial point now is, what price did Gu Yaoji give? She did not lack money, and for the granddaughter she doted, how much was she willing to pay? As long as Fang Yuan's price, if even a single point, is higher, he wins. This is a different kind of battle. The strong might not necessarily win, the weak might not necessarily lose. Guessing and gambling made the fight much more exciting. If it were others, they might not be able to guess it. Gu Yaoji, you purposely said some things earlier to scare away competitors. But in front of me, you are still too tender. Fang Yuan's lips curled into an angle as he smiled confidently. In this world, transactions were very interesting. If it was on Earth, the seller would definitely adopt an auction style when selling rare GU worms like the liquor worm. But in this world, auction did not work well. An important reason was that kinship is the greatest value here, it is the clan's cohesiveness. If an auction was held, the clan's members would have a subconscious animosity towards outsiders like Jafu. Once the auction items are priced too highly, they would step out of the competition and even try to appease the seller, making some leeways to exchange and compensate. This world's people had one viewpoint: losing to the family is okay, but for an outsider to earn from it, that is an insult to the entire clan. Unless a few clans joined in an auction together. In that case, there is competition, and it would be full of rivalry. But these auctions were hard to conduct. Because transport is inconvenient. Transport is the basis of trade, and if the transport system is not developed, the business and trade would dwindle. Because in trade, it was the movement of commodities that matter. Each village occupied a mountain and stayed far from each other. The roads that connected them are hard to travel, constantly having wild beasts, cliffs, coupled with dangerous terrain and weather, and even dangerous wild GU worms. It was truly full of difficulties. Such an inconvenient transport system made it difficult for different clans to come together for an auction. Even at Qingmao Mountain with its 3 clans, Jafu did not dare to organize an auction. Firstly, where would it be held? It isn't safe in the wilds, and if it is held in the Guu village, the other 2 clans would not feel safe. He was only rank 4, and the head of the other 3 villages were also rank 4. He could not suppress the situation. Compared to Earth, trade here was not developed and had its own rules. Using his knowledge of business and enterprise from Earth, Fang Yuan managed to earn and also lose money. After some painful experiences, he finally learned from experience. Combining the complete business knowledge from Earth, along with his personal experience, without bragging, Fang Yuan had the top-tier knowledge in the business industry in this entire world. Just an old woman who had lived in the Qingmao Mountains village her whole life, she dares to obstruct me in getting the liquor worm. Old woman, you're far too tender. Chapter 111. Chapter 111. Primeval stones are but material goods. Grandma, what GU is this? The young girl curiously pointed at the central counter in the 3rd floor. There were 3 floors in this treehouse. The first floor sold rank 1 GU worms, the second floor sold rank 2 GU worms and the third floor sold rank 3 GU worms. The higher you went, the lesser the GU worms and the more expensive the price. Naturally, the GU worms that were put for sale in the treehouse were all rare and precious. Gu Yaoji followed her granddaughter's gaze and saw a round bucket-shaped, tall and thin tree stump. The stump had 5 branches like 5 fingers of a human and were intertwined in the middle. A sphere-shaped GU worm that was thumb-sized was wrapped around by the fine branches and covered by green leaves, emitting a white-silvery glow. This is a white-silver relic GU, it can only be used once and can instantly raise a rank 3 GU master's cultivation by a small realm, Gu Yaoji slowly explained. Relic GU was a series GU worm. Rank 1 had green copper relic GU which was specially targeted towards rank 1 GU masters. Rank 2 had red steel relic GU which was effective only on rank 2 GU masters, and rank 3 was this silver relic GU. Rank 4 had yellow golden relic GU. The price is 30,000 primeval stones, it's so expensive. The young girl was so shocked, she stuck out her tongue. Gu Yaoji nodded, its final price should reach at least 50,000 primeval stones. Alright, we have strolled long enough here, let's go to the 1st floor reception desk, the results to the liquor worm's bidding should have come out. In the treehouse, a rank 1 GU worm would only be displayed for half a day once there was a bid on it. For GU worms that people had little interest in, it would be kept on display till someone made a bid. Rank 2 GU worms would be displayed for a day and rank 3 ones for 2 days. At first glance, this practice looked odd, but when put in practice, this was the most suitable way of doing business. At the reception desk, what, the liquor worm has been bought by someone else? Gu Yaoji immediately frowned upon seeing the results. She had put a high price and was confident in obtaining the liquor worm, but to think she had actually miscalculated. HMPH, who is it to be so bad as to snatch my dear liquor worm? The young girl angrily asked. Yaola, Gu Yaoji reminded her granddaughter. The young girl pouted and obediently shut her mouth. The sales clerk behind the counter was a rank 2 female GU master. She slightly bowed and answered the young girl, I am sorry, we can't divulge our customers' information. Each business has special rules, please forgive me. It was this confidentiality that dispelled many customers' apprehensions and allowed them to freely take part in the bid. Sometimes, people would have some things they clearly wanted, but they would yield to others because of feelings and courtesy. After all, they would frequently see each other in the clan. But such a method of doing transactions secretly allowed one to go around the problem of sentiments. Why would such a good thing need to go to you? Because you are my senior, relative or friend. Never underestimate the dark side in everyone. Such secret transactions allowed this dark side to come out. Yu Yaoji ruminated for a while and said, I know the rules. You don't need to worry, little girl, I won't ask the name of that person who bought the liquor worm, I only want to know what the final price was. The female GU master bowed again, I am really sorry, the price is also confidential. But please don't worry, the final price was definitely the highest among all the bids. Jia family's business has always centered around honesty. HMPH, little girl, do you know who I am? Gu Yaoji's face sank and coldly snorted. What is going on? At this moment, a rank 3 middle-aged GU master hurried over. This treehouse was constantly being monitored, they would naturally know if anything occurred. Lord Supervisor. The female GU master immediately greeted this middle-aged man. The man waved his hand at the girl, you can leave now, I will handle it here. He turned towards Gu Yaoji and smiled, so it was Lord Yaoji. She should be your granddaughter, right? She looks smart and sweet. Gu Yaoji's expression softened upon seeing that this man was also a rank 3 GU master, but she still asked to know the final price. The male supervisor felt that the situation was rather tricky. He was an elder at the caravan and also a trusted aide of Jia Fu. After doing business for many years, he had a deep understanding of the Gu village's situation and knew the influence this old woman had. To them, even if they offended Gu Kai Lian or Gu Mo Chen, they wouldn't want to offend Gu Yaoji. The latter's influence was second only to clan leader Gu Bo. The male supervisor pondered and said, how about this, since Lord Yaoji wants to purchase the liquor worm, I could call the shots and secretly transfer one over. To be honest, the warehouse has 3 liquor worms and Lord Jia Fu personally decides where to sell them. You should know how precious the liquor worm is. As for the price, let's decide your bidding price is it. However, Gu Yaoji slightly shook her head and knocked the cane on her hand on the ground. She said, I am not looking for a bargain. The price will be the same as the selling price of the previous liquor worm. The supervisor hesitated, he naturally saw Gu Yaoji's aim. Gu Yaoji pretended to be annoyed and continued to pressure the male supervisor, what? Is the price so high that you are afraid I won't be able to afford it? Of course, I didn't mean that. Sigh, alright, we will do like you say. The supervisor sighed and set a price. Upon hearing the price, the young girl first heaved a sigh of relief, but soon after that she felt somewhat indignant, what, it was only 20 primeval stones more than ours. Gu Yaoji narrowed her eyes, but didn't speak. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan had already exited the treehouse and arrived at the wine tavern. The second liquor worm was already in his possession, and now the only things he needed were the 4 types of wines, sour, sweet, bitter and spicy wines. I already have the sweet wine, there is still quite a lot of the golden honey wine remaining from the family inheritance mission. Spicy and sour wines should not be a problem. My only concern is the bitter wine. Fang Yuan was a bit worried when he thought of this. If he had bitter wine, he could begin refining the 4 flavors liquor worm tonight. Many things in life were like this, whatever you fear, it will come true. Fang Yuan's worry became reality. He spent several hours rushing through countless tents, he found spicy and sour wines, but he didn't find bitter wine. Not everything in this world follows our wishes. Fang Yuan was very helpless. He could only set aside the fusion plan for the liquor worm. Without the 4 flavors liquor worm, his cultivating speed would be ordinary. In the afternoon, he went to the treehouse again. There were new GU worms in many counters on the first floor. The central counter, where the liquor worm had been displayed, was now occupied by a cleansing water GU. The cleansing water GU resembled the leech on earth, except it was much cuter than the leech, its whole body had a light blue luster like that of the glimmering water. Cleansing water GU can remove the mixed aura in the aperture. To Kai Cheng, it is a GU worm that he must have. Fang Yuan thought of Kai Cheng when he saw this cleansing water GU. He knew Kai Cheng only had AC grade aptitude and had forcefully raised his cultivation with the help of his grandfather Gu Kai Lian's primeval essence, thus Kai Lian's aura was mixed inside Kai Cheng's aperture. If Kai Cheng didn't clean it off, then his future prospects would be jeopardized. Kai Lian will definitely buy this GU worm for Kai Cheng. Let me think. His quote should be between 630 to 640. This price was much more than the liquor worm's market value. The main reason was that Kai Cheng especially required this GU worm. If I quote 650, it should get me this cleansing water GU. Just by adding 10 primeval stones, this cleansing water GU is bound to fall in my hands. As for the liquor worm I bought this morning, my quote should have been about 20 primeval stones higher than GU Yao Ji's. Fang Yuan coldly smiled inwardly. He had this self-confidence. His 500 years of experience and the advanced business knowledge from Earth had combined to form this self-confidence. It was beyond ordinary. With his previous life's experience, when he just put 10 more primeval stones, he had an 80% guarantee of getting the goods. When he bought the liquor worm, the reason why he had put 10 more primeval stones was because of his cautious nature. Fang Yuan didn't make a quote, he didn't need the cleansing water GU. And if he obtained it, then it would be investigated by Kai Lian. Of course, the main reason Fang Yuan did not bid was because he needed to hold on to the remaining money to see if there were any good GU worms in the coming days. I lack 2 types of GU worms, a scouting type and a movement type. The wolf tide will come in the coming year, and the caravan won't come again. Although there is the Flower Wine Monk's hidden inheritance, that was hastily left behind by Flower Wine Monk after he was injured. Who is to say if it is complete or not and what GU worm would be next? In his memories, the wolf tide next year will be very dangerous. Fang Yuan didn't want to be powerless just because he lacked GU worms, being injured or even perishing in the wolf tide. It would be a disaster for the current him if he were to be surrounded by wolf packs. Before that happens, he needed to make sufficient preparations, both his cultivation and GU worms shouldn't be lacking. After this, he repeatedly went to the treehouse for 3 days. On the 3rd day, in the first floor of the treehouse, he discovered something to be happy about, a black boar GU. Black and white boar GU were GU worms that could increase the fundamental strength of GU masters. Fang Yuan had already used the white boar GU and received a power equal to that of a boar. If he used another white boar GU again, he wouldn't receive any increase in strength. But the black boar GU was different, its ability could overlay with the white boar goose. Hence, at noon, there was 1 more GU worm in his possession. After that, there was nothing. Some scouting and movement type GU worms appeared on the counters but they couldn't satisfy Fang Yuan. These GU worms were displayed on ordinary counters and the price wasn't good, so there weren't many who would purchase them. Fang Yuan heard the caravan would be staying for 8 days, so he patiently waited without becoming anxious. It was the 7th day. In the 2nd floor of the treehouse, Fang Yuan discovered a red steel relic GU. It could instantly raise a rank 2 GU master's primeval essence by a small realm. Its price was marked at 3,000 primeval stones, attracting many rank 2 GU masters to bid over it, dropping papers in the counters. It was a very lively scene. If I obtain this red steel relic GU, I could push my cultivation to middle stage instantly. With the middle stage scarlet primeval essence, I would be able to use the Moonglow GU and White Jade GU many more times. Cultivation was the foundation of a GU master, an increase in cultivation meant an increase in fighting power. In terms of its effects, it was far better than getting the scouting and movement GU worms. Moreover, these 2 types of GU worms in the treehouse were all ordinary to Fang Yuan, with none catching his eyes. I have purchased the liquor worm and black boar GU, I also bought some wine. This red steel relic goose final price will definitely cross 5,000 primeval stones and could even reach 8,000. After all, everyone knows about the wolf tide, so raising one's cultivation by a small realm will be a lot of help. My primeval stones won't be enough if I want to get this relic GU. Fang Yuan instantly realized that an obstacle had appeared in front of him. Chapter 112. Chapter 112. Truly a great resolve. Even though he inherited his parents' assets, to Fang Yuan, the time he had to accumulate wealth was still too little. Activating the vitality leaf, he could not do it daily as it consumed a lot of time. Every time he grew out 9 vitality leaves, half a day would be expended. Fang Yuan considered for a moment. The sale time of this red steel relic GU is only 1 day. In such a short time, to come up with these large amount of primeval stones, the only way was to mortgage his wine tavern or the bamboo buildings. This was nothing to feel pity over. A year later, it would be the wolf tide. Under the wolves' attack, GUU village would desperately hold on several times, and during the most severe attack, even the front gate was broken through. The clan leader and the clan elders restrained the lightning crown head wolf, and GUU Qingshu sacrificed his own life to block the gate and stabilize the situation. The wolf tide caused Qingmao Mountain's 3 clans to suffer a great reduction in clan members. Although not as much as 90% was gone, but at least half the population was wiped out. By then, there would be more property than people. What talk would there be about renting out the bamboo building? The wine tavern was facing the eastern gates. Who would dare to drink there? Even if they wanted to drink, the tavern would have gotten used by the clan and turned into a defensive tower. Right now, the clan and many people were underestimating the severity of the wolf tide. At this point, if he could get rid of the tavern and bamboo buildings, he would be able to sell it at the best price. Money and fortune are just material goods, only one's cultivation is the root. But, selling it to the clan is too cheap. If I sell it to an individual, the price would be higher. But who would have the financial ability right now to buy my bamboo building and tavern? Such a huge transaction, it is not something that can be settled at one go. Both sides have to observe and haggle for the best prices. That would take too much time. I only have one day. Wait, maybe someone can. Fang Yuan's inspiration struck as he thought of someone. This person was none other than his uncle Jiu Dong too. Uncle and aunt were both cunning and miserly. These decades of operating the tavern, bamboo buildings and selling the vitality leaves, they must have a huge stash of primeval stones. Moreover, these assets were originally operated by them. All in all, it can save a lot of observation time. The most important part was, they desperately needed this family asset to continue operating. No matter how much assets they had, without any income, this was like a river without a source. Their primeval stones would get lesser and lesser, anyone would also be anxious over it. It could be said, uncle and aunt were the best transaction targets. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan hesitated no longer, leaving the treehouse and walking towards Jiu Dong Tu's estate. The one who opened the door was Shen Kui, his former servant. Ah, it's you. Seeing Fang Yuan, she was very shocked. Soon, she realized her slip of the tongue, and her face turned white from horror. Fang Yuan was now a rank 2 GU master, but she was a mere mortal. The difference between them was like heaven and earth. More importantly, Fang Yuan was the ruthless person who dared to kill the Mo family servant, later mincing the corpse and sending it to the Mo family. This servant pays her respects to young master Fang Yuan. Welcome home, young master. Shen Kui shivered from her fear and her knees went soft, kneeling on the ground. Home, Fang Yuan took a step into the courtyard. Seeing the familiar settings, his face showed a hint of mockery. There was no sense of belonging or attachment. A year later, he had returned here once again. Compared to his mental impression, this place was much more vacant. Just as Fang Zheng had said, some family servants were already sold away or retrenched. Fang Yuan's sudden appearance had alarmed uncle and aunt. As the housekeeper, Mother Shen arrived at the first moment, kneeling and bowing to invite Fang Yuan into the living room, and served him tea by hand. Fang Yuan sat on the chair, observing the living room. Many of the furniture was missing, and the decor was much more simple and plain. But this did not mean that uncle and aunt had no savings. Jiu Dong Tu is still very cunning. This is an act of self-preservation. He had already stepped into the background, and his battle strength had drastically slipped. Most importantly, he had lost the 9-leaf vitality grass, meaning that he had lost the trump card in maintaining his personal relationships, no longer able to exert influence outside. A man's wealth is his own ruin by causing another's greed. After Fang Yuan inherited the assets, many clansmen were jealous and eyed his fortune. As for uncle and aunt, they faced the same problem. The huge amount of savings they had was both a blessing and a problem. Not showing off one's wealth, to them, this was the correct method of living. At this time, footsteps could be heard. The footsteps got closer, and soon, aunt appeared at the doorstep. Fang Yuan, you actually still dared to come back here. Seeing Fang Yuan, the rage in her heart appeared out of nowhere, screaming shrilly, you traitorous scoundrel, how did we raise you? And to think you treat us like this, do you have a conscience? Has your conscience been eaten by a dog? You still have the cheeks to come here, and have the cheeks to drink tea here. Are you here to see our sorry states? Now that you've seen it, are you happy? Her finger pointed at Fang Yuan, her other hand at her waist as she screamed like a shrew. If not for Fang Yuan wearing a glaring rank 2 GU master battle attire, reminding her, she would have pounced on him and strangled him. Fang Yuan paid no heed nor showed any expressions to aunt's finger or her angry accusations. A year of not meeting, aunt's yellow face, although full of rage and hatred, could not hide her haggardness. Her clothes had already changed to a simple hemp garment, and the accessories on her head had reduced. Without any makeup, her mouth looked sharp and her face small, like a monkey. Fang Yuan getting back the assets had caused a great influence and impact on her daily life. To her furious bantering, Fang Yuan paid no heed to them. He held up his cup and drank some tea before saying slowly, "My trip here today is to sell the tavern and bamboo buildings. Does uncle and aunt have any interest?" "Pa, you traitorous wolf, what good can you have, wanting to sell the tavern and bamboo?" Aunt's tone stalled as she finally reacted, her face showing disbelief. "What, you want to sell the tavern and bamboo buildings?" Fang Yuan put down his teacup, leaning back on the chair, closing his eyes to rest. "Better to get uncle here to discuss with me." Aunt gritted her teeth, not believing it, her eyes like erupting flames as she stared angrily at Fang Yuan, saying, "I know, you're trying to toy with me, that's why you said that. Once I agree, I will get harshly mocked and ridiculed. You think I'm a fool, and would be played by you." This was purely a way of thinking from a person of low social status. Fang Yuan sighed in his heart, before saying one sentence to change his aunt's attitude. "Say any more bullshit and I'm leaving. I believe others would be interested in these assets. By then, I would have sold it to other people, so don't you both regret it." Aunt paused for a moment. "Do you really want to sell these assets?" "I am only waiting for 5 minutes." Fang Yuan opened a slit of his eyes to talk, before shutting them again. He heard Aunt stomping her foot before a series of quick and softer footsteps. Not long after, Uncle Gu Dong-tu appeared in front of Fang Yuan, but Aunt did not accompany him. Fang Yuan looked at him. Uncle was already aging extensively, his originally well-maintained face had shrunk, and there was much more white hair on his head now. He had been worrying these few days. Losing the family assets, he lost his financial sources all of a sudden. Without the 9-leaf vitality grass, he also lost his outside influence. His hidden elder title was already falsifying. Although he had a huge amount of fortune in his hands, without his influence, these primeval stones had gotten troublesome. The clan's politics was to encourage the clansmen to compete for resources, especially the rules on GU fighting. It was inhumane and non-friendly. But this could exterminate parasites and the appearance of a good-for-nothing second generation, allowing the clan's people to maintain a sense of alertness. This also allowed the clan's fighting force to maintain at a strong position. In this world, only strong fighting force could ensure survival. Tornadoes, floods and beasts do not speak sense with you. These years, Gu Dong-tu had lived a life of peace, and his fighting ability had diminished. In order to reduce his burden, the Gu worms that he used to fight with, he had sold them away already. If someone sent him a challenge now, he would definitely lose more than win. Towards his uncle, Fang Yuan spoke openly about his purpose in coming. "Fang Yuan, I shall not beat about the bush. I don't understand something. Why do you need to sell the wine tavern and bamboo buildings? If you keep them, you will have a steady source of income." Uncle could not believe it, but his tone was much more acceptable than Aunt's. "Because I want to buy a red steel relic Gu." Fang Yuan said honestly, there was no need to hide such things. "So that's it." Uncle's gaze shone. "Then, you are selling the 9-leaf vitality grass too?" "That is impossible." Fang Yuan shook his head without any hesitation. "I am only selling the wine tavern, the bamboo buildings, the land and the 8 servants. 9-leaf vitality grass was the most valuable thing in the asset. Fang Yuan needed its healing ability as well as selling them to earn primeval stones. It could sustain his cultivation and also feed the Gu worms. Furthermore, next year the wolf tide was coming, and the vitality leaves price would soar. With this 9-leaf vitality grass in hand, Fang Yuan would have no problems with primeval stones for his rank 2 cultivation journey. But if Uncle obtains the 9-leaf vitality grass, his hidden elder influence would instantly recover. Fang Yuan did not want to see this happen. Seeing Fang Yuan's determined attitude, Gu Dong-tu's heart was very disappointed. At the same time, he felt helpless. The two had a secret talk for 2 hours, then they signed an extremely secure transfer agreement. Gu Dong-tu regained the tavern, bamboo buildings, family servants and land, while Fang Yuan led 3 family servants who were holding a box full of primeval stones each, towards the treehouse. They each got what they wanted. Hearing the news, Aunt rushed over. Seeing Gu Dong-tu's contracts and deeds in his hands, she stared with round eyes and showed overwhelming joy. "Hubby, that lad got stupid from cultivating, he actually sold away such a profitable business. So stupid, wanting the eggs and not keeping the hen that lays eggs. Will you die if you stop talking? Shut up." Gu Dong-tu sounded very irritated. "Husband," Aunt pouted, "I'm just happy about it. Do not get complacent. With this tavern and the bamboo buildings, we have to be even more cautious now and keep a low profile. A huge tree attracts the wind. Although Fang Zheng is our adopted son, we cannot misuse this relationship. After all, Fang Zheng has not fully developed himself yet, who knows what the future entails. Ji Yu Dong Tu sighed deeply. Got it, husband. Aunt listened while staring at the stack of deeds, laughing uncontrollably. Ji Yu Dong Tu's face was solemn throughout. The transaction went well, and he now had income. The primeval stones he spent would be replenished with 2 or 3 years of operation. But he was not happy at all. His mind was full of Fang Yuan's silhouette. For a relic Ji, Fang Yuan unhesitantly sold the assets. This was akin to giving up the comfortable life ahead. Ji Yu Dong Tu placed himself in Fang Yuan's shoes and thought, would I be able to do this? I can't. Even if he did not like Fang Yuan, filled with hatred and disgust, at this moment he could not help but exclaim in his heart, able to give up and abandon his future comforts just like that, what great resolve he has. Chapter 113. Chapter 113. Keeping quiet and earning a fortune. The competition is really fierce, who knows who the final winner will be. I have been standing here for just 15 minutes and have already seen over 10 GU masters putting quotes in the counter. Ah, this is a game for the rich. People like us don't even qualify to compete. In the second floor of the treehouse, GU masters were surrounding the central counter, discussing and sighing. As night approached, the competition for the red steel relic GU had reached its peak. Many rank 2 GU masters who were observing in the dark started putting their quotes in this final hour. Some GU masters even made several bids. The final winner for this struggle should be either Mo Yan or Kai Shan, someone guessed. That's possible. Mo Yan and Kai Shan are both at rank 2 upper stage. With this relic GU, they can advance to peak stage and be at the same level as Qing Shu. In recent years, GU Qing Shu has been hanging over their heads. I don't believe these two don't have any thoughts about it. We can't say for sure. It is not only us rank 2 GU masters, there are even some rank 3 elders who have made bids. Just this morning, someone saw Lord Yaoji casting her bid. Right, I also heard that. Lord Yaoji's granddaughter Ji Yu Yaola is taking part in the coming awakening ceremony. Lord Yaoji should be preparing ahead and paving the way for her granddaughter. Ah, how good would it be if I had such a doting senior? Fang Yuan was among the crowd, his gaze tranquil as he listened to the discussions. No one had mentioned his name. In the people's eyes, Fang Yuan was only a lucky kid who had just inherited the family assets. In their minds, Fang Yuan was still not at the level of people like Kai Shan, Mo Yan and Qing Shu. Great, the less attention on me, the more smoothly can I get this red steel relic GU. But with these repeated purchases, I should have attracted his attention. Fang Yuan was 99% sure of getting this relic GU, he began to think of another problem. If the following events develop according to his expectations, then there would be a perfect ending to his several days of effort. It was time. The leaves and branches on the counter suddenly grew and wrapped firmly around the relic GU. The green leaves blocked the people's sight, and when these leaves again unfolded, the red steel relic GU was not there anymore and was replaced by a revert GU. The revert GU looked like a flat, oval, palm-sized stone. Its surface was slightly bulging and smooth, forming an eye pattern. The base of the stone was flat and felt rough to the touch. The stone was black, whereas the eye's pattern was covered with white lines. About every 2 seconds, the eye would blink once and the white lines that portrayed the eyeball would swivel, giving the feeling that this stone was rolling its eyes. Revert GU had a special function. It decomposed rank 2 GU worm to rank 1. For example, if the revert GU was used on Fang Yuan's white jade GU, the white jade GU would again change back to white boar GU and jade skin GU. This process was called reverse refining. Fang Yuan glanced at it and immediately lost his interest. He didn't need the revert GU. The surrounding GU masters began arguing. Revert GU couldn't become everyone's focal point like the red steel relic GU. Everyone was very curious on who the red steel relic GU went to. Some people looked for the floor's caravan GU master and some people waited at the main desk. The crowd slowly thinned out, but Fang Yuan didn't move away. Young Master Fang Yuan, please come to the 3rd floor. Our Lord Jia Fu would like to have a chat with you. A voice suddenly entered Fang Yuan's ears. Fang Yuan wasn't surprised. There were many types of secret sound transmission GU worms in this world. He followed the directions given by the voice and walked to a wall in the 3rd floor. Branches and leaves stacked together and covered the wooden wall. Swoosh! The branches and leaves automatically parted to the sides and revealed a concealed door. Fang Yuan pushed open the door and saw an exquisite whirling staircase that moved up. He walked along the stairs and came to a small study room. In the study room, Jia Fu was handling some accounts, his hand writing away speedily. He raised his head when he heard Fang Yuan's footsteps, revealing the scar on his face. He gave a gentle smile. "We meet again, little brother Fang Yuan." "Respects to Lord Jia Fu." Fang Yuan clasped his hands and saluted. "Come, sit here." Jia Fu pointed at a nearest desk. After Fang Yuan sat, his left hand pushed a bamboo paper on the desk towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan took a glance and immediately recognized that this bamboo paper held all his quotes that he had made in the recent days. Under every quote was his signature. He was inwardly happy, it had gone according to his expectations. But on the surface, he wore a doubtful expression as he asked, "I am not sure what Lord Jia Fu wants to show me." Jia Fu's smile slightly decreased, his eyes flashing as he looked at Fang Yuan. "These are your quotes you made along with the quote you gave for the red steel relic Gu. I will be honest, I am amazed at your business talent. Do you know, every one of your bids was very close to the final sale price. Although you only succeeded in buying a black boar Gu, a liquor worm and the red steel relic Gu, your quotes for other Gu worms only lacked by 10 or so primeval stones. Brother, do you have any interest in working for me?" Jia Fu tried to recruit Fang Yuan. "Here it comes." Fang Yuan laughed inwardly. He had repeatedly made bids these days and had intentionally lost on most of them, his bids differing from the final price by only 10 or so primeval stones. He had only successfully won black boar Gu, liquor worm and red steel relic Gu. And just like he wished, Jia Fu was interested in the business talent he showed and took the initiative to recruit him. However, in fact if Fang Yuan wished so, he had almost full guarantee of being able to purchase all the Gu worms. Fang Yuan hesitated, then shook his head. "I am greatly honored to receive Lord Jia Fu's kindness, but I don't want to leave the clan." "Oh, so it's like that." Jia Fu's gaze flashed. "Brother might have some misunderstandings towards me. A year ago, I indeed doubted you, but after using the bamboo gentleman, the suspicions on you have already been removed. Jia Jinsheng was my brother, I hope you understand what my mood was like then. There is another piece of good news, I have already invited divine investigator Tai Shui Lang. There isn't any case which he cannot solve. I believe he will definitely be able to investigate the truth and give justice to you." Divine investigator Tai Shui Lang. This is a problem. Fang Yuan thought over this name. This was not good news to him. In this world, there were many magical places and also many amazing methods that could be used to investigate. When Fang Yuan killed Jia Jinsheng, he had only been at rank 1. Even if he knew a lot of methods, he couldn't use them. In his memories, Tai Shui Lang had a profound cultivation and wouldn't even tolerate a bit of sand in his eyes. He followed the thought of punishing evil and rewarding the right throughout his whole life. He had an extremely rich sense of justice and his thoughts were meticulous. He was very good at finding subtle traces from any clues. Divine Investigator has a high reputation, I have also heard of him. But when will this Lord Divine Investigator arrive at Qingmao Mountain? Fang Yuan put on an anticipating look and directly asked. "That." Jia Fu awkwardly smiled, "Divine Investigator is very busy." From his reply, it might only be the year after the next. Fang Yuan immediately felt relieved, he had a lot of time to prepare. "Brother, I think highly of you. I hope you can carefully consider my proposal." Jia Fu made attractive offers. Fang Yuan tactfully refused, now was not the best time to leave Qingmao Mountain. If he went to a strange environment without enough strength, he was bound to be bullied and pushed aside. The caravan was also full of unwritten rules on bullying and pushing aside. "That is really a pity for your talent. How about this, I will give you this token. If there comes a day where you want my help, this token will be the proof that I will always welcome you." Jia Fu had failed in recruiting Fang Yuan, but he didn't feel surprised. He had a deep understanding towards this type of clan's cohesiveness. If he was to know now that Fang Yuan was Jia Jinsheng's murderer, who knows what his expression would be. Fang Yuan apologized in shame as he received the token handed by Jia Fu along with the red steel relic Gu. He kept the two items close to him and backtracked his way out. A young female Gu master was caressing the leaves on the wall, when suddenly she cried out in shock. The branches and leaves suddenly parted and revealed a door. The door was pushed open from inside and Fang Yuan walked out expressionlessly. You. The young girl widened her eyes and blankly looked at Fang Yuan brushing past her. Among the surrounding Gu masters who saw this scene, some were familiar with this, some gave a knowing smile and some threw amazed looks. Fang Yuan paid no heed to these gazes and walked down to the second floor. Some Gu masters were still waiting there, excitedly discussing who the red steel relic Gu went to. Some people brazenly made guesses whereas some people gave some little news. Mo Yan had a mysterious smile when she walked out of the treehouse, Kai Shan's face was ashen, and so on. And to top it all, some people pledged that so-and-so had bought the relic Gu, even making an oath. Fang Yuan went past this bored group of people. No one knew that at this moment, the red steel relic Gu was so close to them. When Fang Yuan walked out of the treehouse, he bumped into Kai Shan. His face indeed looked unsightly, and at his side, Kai Cheng was asking about the whereabouts of the red steel relic Gu. After seeing Fang Yuan, Kai Cheng snorted and turned his head, intentionally not looking at him. Kai Shan silently nodded his head towards Fang Yuan as a greeting. Fang Yuan also nodded his head as a reply, his face carrying a wisp of smile. The last of the sunshine shone on this young boy's face, he was indeed happy. With the red steel relic Gu, his cultivation would instantly advance by a level. And there was also the token. A year ago, Fang Yuan wanted to build a friendship with Jia Jinsheng and rely on him to take part in the future large-scale Gu fighting competition, reaping benefits in that period of upheaval. Unfortunately, life was unpredictable, the final outcome made Fang Yuan not know whether to laugh or cry. Unexpectedly, he ended up killing Jia Jinsheng with his own hands. No matter, without Jia Jinsheng, relying on Jia Fu also worked. This token was equivalent to the admission ticket to the future large-scale Gu fighting competition. Chapter 114. Chapter 114. Monkey King in the Cave. 3 days after the caravan left the village. In the rock forest inside the mountain, filled with dark red light. Huge stone pillars extended down from the ceiling, resembling long and gigantic tree trunks, forming into a majestic gray-colored stone forest. Fang Yuan was retreating from battle in the rock forest. Chirp chirp chirp. A bunch of stone monkeys stared with their green circular monkey eyes, chasing after Fang Yuan relentlessly. Moonglow Gu, Fang Yuan called in his mind, his right arm chopping towards the direction of the monkey gang. Pew! An eerie blue moonblade as large as a face formed into a crescent and pierced through the air, cutting into the monkey gang. A jade-eye stone monkey was jumping in the air. With no foothold to escape on, it was hit directly by the moonblade. Before it could scream, in the next moment, its entire body was split into two from head to toe. It had lost all its remaining life force and was enveloped in a deep aura of death. In a split second, its lively eyes became a pair of jade pearls. As its body descended, it turned into a rock statue. Bam! With a crisp sound, the statue fell onto the ground, smashing into pieces. The moonblade only dimmed a little, and after killing this stone monkey, its force remained as it rushed for the monkeys behind. Kachak! After a few cries, 5 or 6 stone monkeys were killed on the spot. Chirp chirp chirp, their companions. Death fueled the monkey gang's rage as they screamed furiously, their influence doubling, imposingly leaping at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was unfazed by the danger, his heart remaining as calm as ice. He fought and retreated appropriately. As the stone monkeys neared, he attacked with the moonblade. The moonlight Gu in the past, even with the boost from little light Gu, each moonblade could only kill 1 or 2 monkeys. But now, with one attack the moonglow Gu could kill 5 or 6 stone monkeys. But there were positive and negative impacts. The moonglow Gu, to the current Fang Yuan, had a huge cost. Each moonblade used 10% of his red steel primeval essence. Fang Yuan only had 44% primeval C in his aperture. This meant that he could only use 4 moonblades in one go. If I can successfully fuse the 4 flavors liquor worm and refine my primeval essence, I would be able to shoot 8 moonblades. What a pity, even though I have the second liquor worm and 3 out of the 4 flavors of wine, I am lacking the final one, I'm stuck at the final step, Fang Yuan sighed deeply. 3 moonblades later, his aperture only had 14% light red primeval essence left. To play safe, he no longer used the moonblade, but activated the white jade Gu. The stone monkeys encircled him, the closest monkey jumping to Fang Yuan's leg and going into a frenzy. From down to up, it used its monkey head to hit Fang Yuan's chin. Fang Yuan snorted, he wanted to use his fist to crush this overconfident monkey. But suddenly he had a thought and stopped his hand, using his chin to receive the blow instead. A moment before the point of impact, his chin shone with white jade cold light. A loud bam sound resounded. The force of the attack caused Fang Yuan's head to tilt back. But that monkey laid on the ground, hugging its head and rolling around the ground screaming in agony. Without the white jade Gu, Fang Yuan's chin would have been smashed. But now, Fang Yuan only felt slightly dizziness with no injuries. But, even with the white jade Gu's defense, he still had to withstand the impact of the attack. Fang Yuan took a few steps back before recovering and seeing the scenery clearly before his eyes again. He had intentionally withstood the monkey's headbutt earlier, it was to have this body get used to such attacks and get used to the slight dizziness. This way, in the future when he falls into a life and death crisis, encountering such an attack, he would be able to recover much more quickly and fight for a survival chance. Fang Yuan was always ruthless with his methods. This ruthlessness was not only towards enemies, but also himself. He came here to kill stone monkeys almost every 3 days. His motive was not just the flower wine monk's strength inheritance, but also another motive, to utilize the stone monkeys to train his own fighting ability. A GU master's physical stats, physical combat proficiency, aperture primeval essence, battle experience and every GU worm, they were all elements that affected the overall battle strength. Only by gathering all these elements tightly together can one exert the greatest fighting strength. The stone monkey group was like a hammer, and Fang Yuan was the ingot that had just came out of the cauldron. With every hit of the hammer, he would become more sturdy, more refined, and more compact. 15 minutes later, this battle ended. On the ground, there were rock fragments all over the ground, and within those were dozens of jade pearls. I killed 41 jade-eyes stone monkeys this time, Fang Yuan counted in his heart, and every time he would collate the battle results. From each battle, he'd reflect upon himself and improve upon what he did not do properly. At the same time, he would feel his own improvement speed. In the earlier battle, the Moonglow GU was the most contributing factor, with 3 moonblades killing at least 17 or 18 stone monkeys. That is about half of the entire battle results, the remaining monkeys were all killed by my close combat. Moonlight Gu's effect on the stone monkeys was not very obvious. But after advancing to Moonglow GU, it jumped to being Fang Yuan's most powerful attacking method. Not only was its attack power strong, but more crucially, its efficiency was very high. Fang Yuan utilized 3 moonblades only in the span of a few breaths' time, but when he used his fists and kicks to smash the stone monkeys, that took over 10 minutes. These stone monkeys were very agile and had swift movements. When the stone monkeys were on the ground, there was no point thinking of hitting them physically. With a jump, they could easily leap away and avoid Fang Yuan's attack. The only weakness was that when they jumped in midair, they couldn't change their moving direction. Fang Yuan being able to kill them was due to this weakness. But this was owing to his rich fighting experience. If it was any other rank 2 GU master, even Kai Shan, Mo Yan or Qing Shu, they would not be able to catch the weakness every time like Fang Yuan. His previous life's memories could allow Fang Yuan to sensitively catch the opportunities in battle and seize them. He could meticulously use every ounce of his strength. Even though he was rank 2, he could already utilize his fighting strength to the limit of his abilities. He was definitely not like Fang Zheng, having the jade skin GU, but on the arena after being overwhelmed by Fang Yuan's aura, could not even display his supposed strength. Of course, Fang Yuan's cultivation was still very low, and against the monkey group, he could not overwhelm them by brute force. Every time, he had to fight while retreating. Luckily, the monkeys did not have high intelligence. They could not adjust their attack patterns, and even after seeing Fang Yuan crushing them in midair many times, they still leapt towards Fang Yuan while attacking. At the same time, every time they chased Fang Yuan, if it was too far from their homes, their longingness to their homes would overwhelm their anger. Many monkeys gave up on the chase due to this. GU are the essence of heaven and earth, humans are the spirit of all living things. Fang Yuan is relying on the intelligence of humans to understand the stone monkey's habits and using the correct fighting methods to get deeper into the rock forest. At this point he was already near the central area of the rock forest. After many attempts, Fang Yuan finally exterminated the monkey group on this rock pillar. Right now, in front of him, was the final pillar. It was the largest and thickest rock pillar in this rock forest. The pillar extended downwards from the ceiling, almost touching the ground. It emitted a majestic aura amidst the silence. Fang Yuan counted the number of rock caves on the pillar, getting an estimation of at least 500 stone monkeys. This was the largest monkey group he had encountered up till now. But no matter how many jade-eye stone monkeys there were, to Fang Yuan, it was just a small bit of trouble, at most he'd have to exert more effort and waste a few more trips. What caused his gaze to become serious, was the rock cave at the most upper level. The entrance of this cave was larger than any of the surrounding caves, at least twice as large if not more. And below it, the caves were tightly cluttered together, forming and resembling a position where they were worshipping and revering. It seems that there is a monkey king in this rock cave. Fang Yuan frowned. This was where the problem lay. As long as a beast group is large, there would be a beast king created. There was a wild boar king in the wild boar group. Obviously there would also be a monkey king in the monkey group. The threat of a beast king was multiple times higher than a normal wild beast. The reason was that their bodies had 1 or 2 GU worms inside. These GU had a mutual partnership with the beast kings, and once the beast king is attacked, they would come out and assist. This Jade Eye Stone Monkey King should not be very strong, at least weaker than the Wild Boar King. Otherwise, the surrounding monkey groups would have been under his control already. Fang Yuan, using his experiences, gauged the Monkey King's strength. Normally, the bigger the beast group, the stronger the beast king. Weaker beast kings did not have the ability to rule over a large number of its kind. According to the beast group's size and classifying of the beast kings, from low to high, they could be classified as 100 beast king, 1000 beast king, and myriad beast king. The wild boar king that Sickly Snake's group hunted was 1000 beast king, it ruled over 1000 wild boars. The stone monkey king before Fang Yuan was 100 beast king, it only had several hundred stone monkeys under its rule. The culprit behind the wolf tide, the lightning crown wolf, was a myriad beast king. Every single lightning crown wolf ruled over at least 10,000 lightning wolves. The difference in ability between the 3 beast kings were huge. 1000 beast kings needed 3 teams to cooperate together to be able to barely kill it. The Sickly Snake group was able to deal with the wild boar king, mostly due to it being injured beforehand. A myriad beast king required the clan elders and clan leader to work together to be able to go against it head-on. As for 100 beast king, a regular 5-man group would be able to handle it. But for Fang Yuan, who wanted to deal with this monkey king, he could not borrow outside strength, and could only rely on his own power. Rank 2 initial stage primeval essence is ineffective here, it seems it is time to use the red steel relic GU. Fang Yuan eyed the rock cave deeply, then left the second secret room and closed the rock door. If what stands in his way is 1000 beast king like the wild boar king, Fang Yuan would retreat without thinking. But if it is only 100 beast king, if Fang Yuan had rank 2 middle stage cultivation, he could give it a shot. Of course, the results could go either way. Even with middle stage cultivation, he still had roughly 75% chance of failure, his chances of success not even hitting 30%. Chapter 115. Chapter 115. Advancing to middle stage. The translucent light membrane, faint red primeval sea and the surging waves. On the sea surface, 2 fat white liquor worms were absorbing the water. In the air above the sea, a black ladybug-like black boar GU was shaking its wings and hovering around the red steel relic GU. The pebble-like white jade GU had sunk to the depths of the sea and was motionless. Spring-autumn cicada had concealed itself, it was in a deep slumber to recuperate. It is time, Fang Yuan willed. The sea waves paused, and a portion of primeval essence surged up and poured towards the red steel relic GU. The red steel relic GU immediately shook and flew up, giving off bursts of red rays of light. It was like the slowly rising sun, its rays of light shining upon the aperture wall. The rays of light were as hot as fire and as dazzling as a sword. The black boar GU was soon unable to bear it and fell down to the primeval sea. The 2 liquor worms also sunk down to the depths of the primeval sea. White jade GU was flashing inside the sea. For Fang Yuan to advance to rank 2 middle stage with normal methods, he could only use the method of grinding, using his light red primeval essence to cleanse the light membrane aperture wall. But now, red steel relic GU gave off majestic red light which replaced the light red primeval essence and poured directly into the aperture wall, giving astonishing results. Fang Yuan could see the whole light membrane thickening at an astonishing pace. The light on the light membrane condensed into streams of light, gradually changing to a water membrane. The white shimmering rays flowed continuously, becoming clear one moment and dark in the next. Right now, Fang Yuan had advanced to middle stage. However, the relic GU was still bursting with red rays of light. The rays of light filled the whole aperture, it replaced the primeval essence and continuously injected its essence and foundation into Fang Yuan's aperture. The water membrane accepted it all and the shimmering rays of light on it was like water as it flowed freely. This continued on for about 15 minutes. Red steel relic GU had thoroughly exhausted all its energy, its body turned transparent and disappeared in the red light. The penetrating red rays of light also suddenly dissipated with its disappearance. The aperture recovered its tranquility once again. However, the water membrane had become much thicker. Using the red steel relic GU had saved Fang Yuan from wasting a lot of time and effort. A thread of scarlet red primeval essence appeared in the primeval sea. This was the rank 2 middle stage primeval essence. It was more condensed than the light red initial stage primeval essence. It sank to the depths of the primeval sea and lingered around the white jade GU. A red steel relic GU could directly strengthen the foundation of the aperture. To a GU master, this meant advancing by a small realm. This type of GU worm was naturally better if used early. To a GU master, higher cultivation meant stronger fighting force, better survival rate, more mission completions and also more primeval stones earnings. It had a great influence on every aspect. After reaching the middle stage, Fang Yuan took several primeval stones and started recovering his primeval essence. He stopped only after the 44% primeval sea in his aperture had completely filled with middle stage scarlet primeval essence. Half an hour later, he once again stepped into the stone forest, heading towards the central area. He stepped into the warning zones of the monkey groups. Immediately, furious jade-eye stone monkeys came out of the stone pillars. They screeched and pounced upon Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan's expression didn't change, most of his attention was on that cave at the highest layer of the stone pillar. When encountering a common jade-eye stone monkey, there was no need to be nervous as long as you weren't surrounded by them. The main problem was the stone monkey king. What GU worms resided on it? Fang Yuan didn't know. Fang Yuan slowly retreated while cautiously observing, but the stone monkey king didn't appear. Fang Yuan was baffled. Is there no monkey king in this monkey group? If there was a monkey king, then it would no doubt be the first to come out if someone infringed on its territory. Hold it, maybe it has already come out. Just as he thought of this, the sleeping spring autumn cicada in his aperture suddenly floated into appearance. Its body was trembling as it gave a weak startled cry that resonated only within Fang Yuan's mind. The vital GU's warning. This appeared only when the vital GU felt there was an intense threat against the GU master's life. In that split second, Fang Yuan's hairs stood up. Without thinking twice, he directly used the white jade GU. A layer of bright white jade light covered his whole body. In the next instant, the stone monkey king, who was 3 times bigger than a normal stone monkey, suddenly appeared on the left side of Fang Yuan and fiercely struck out with its sharp claws at Fang Yuan's left shoulder. Bang! The stone monkey king's attack was blocked by the white jade GU's defense. Its attack failed. In the instant Fang Yuan received this attack, the white jade GU in his aperture suddenly lit up and consumed 5% of the scarlet primeval essence. If it was when Fang Yuan was at the initial stage, 10% of light red primeval essence would have been used up. From this, one could see how sinister and vicious the stone monkey king's sneak attack was. Despite Fang Yuan having a calm character, he couldn't help breaking out in cold sweat at this moment. If it were not for him sharpening himself these days and polishing his condition to a peak combat state, he might have really been hit by the stone monkey king's attack. Had his reaction been just a bit late, his left shoulder would have become crippled and unusable. Fang Yuan would then end up miserable just like GU Manshi not long ago. There is actually a wild concealing type GU worm residing in this stone monkey king. Fang Yuan hurriedly retreated. He had no way to detect a concealing GU worm and ended up in disadvantage all of a sudden. The stone monkey king seemed to be more cunning than normal stone monkeys. After its attack missed, it again hid itself away. This undoubtedly was a huge mental pressure on Fang Yuan. He used the white jade GU to form a defense around his whole body. Such a method used primeval essence every moment and it was impossible for him to maintain this defense. Even when he had fought with the stone monkey troops before, he would only use the white jade GU at the crucial moment. If he continued to maintain this state, then his primeval essence would completely dissipate not long after. Over 500 stone monkeys encircled Fang Yuan aggressively. Fang Yuan used his greatest speed to retreat and pull some distance. Some stone monkeys' momentum became weaker, whereas some stomped on the ground and began to head back to their homes. Chirp! Right at this moment, the jade-eye stone monkey king appeared and commanded in a loud voice. Chirp chirp! The stone monkey groups immediately responded. Their confusion and hesitation disappeared and again started their chase after Fang Yuan. Over 500 jade-eye stone monkeys were persistently chasing after him, but Fang Yuan didn't panic, his lips revealing a cold smile on the contrary. This accident was already in his expectations. He had chosen the easiest route towards the central area of the stone forest, opening up a passage. In the surroundings of the passage were large numbers of stone monkey groups. Fang Yuan was very familiar with this passage. However, with the low intelligence of these stone monkeys, how could they know? Under the supervision of the stone monkey king, they stormed through the stone forest, infringing on other monkey groups' warning zones and resulting in counterattacks from the other monkey groups. The stone forest was in a great chaos. Countless jade-eye stone monkeys stood at their place, starting a massacre to defend their homes. In 10 or more years, the Stone Monkey King might even advance to become a 1,000-beast king and completely unify this stone forest. But now, it was only a 100-beast king and didn't have the ability to control so many stone monkeys. The different groups of stone monkeys fell into a chaotic battle with each other. For a moment, all Fang Yuan could hear was the screeching and screaming sounds of the stone monkeys. Those 500 stone monkeys that were chasing him were quickly entangled with the other stone monkey groups. But the Stone Monkey King still persisted on chasing after Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was attacking and retreating. In this period of time, he suffered many sneak attacks from the Stone Monkey King, and every attack would consume great amounts of his primeval essence. Luckily, he had advanced to middle stage before this. Otherwise, with the initial stage primeval essence, he wouldn't have been to handle this consumption. Fang Yuan landed in absolute disadvantage. He had not found any weakness in the Stone Monkey King. The only chance to attack lay in the moment the Stone Monkey King was about to attack. But even if Fang Yuan was able to react, he had no time to even make an attacking movement. The Stone Monkey King possessed a concealment-type GU worm and firmly held the initiative. It could attack Fang Yuan whenever it wanted to attack. Even if Fang Yuan injured it, it could use the concealment-type GU worm to safely escape. It was in an invincible position. Without a stealth removal GU worm, the probability to win this battle is extremely low. If I had a wide area attacking method, maybe I could give it a try. But Moonglow GU, I will only be able to hit this Stone Monkey King if I am lucky, but the probability is too low. Fang Yuan clearly understood the battle situation and immediately retreated. However, the Stone Monkey King seemed to be determined to kill him. Fang Yuan retreated to about 100 meters from the rock door when he suddenly stopped. I only have a bit over 10% of my primeval essence remaining. It won't be enough to cover this 100 meters of distance. And even if I am able to enter the second secret room and close the rock door, this Stone Monkey King might just break the door. Fang Yuan had thought that the Stone Monkey King would give up after chasing him for such a long period of time. Yet who could have thought that it still persisted on chasing him? He was already out of the stone forest now, and around him was a patch of empty ground. Countless stone monkeys were fighting chaotically in the stone forest, causing an uproar. Their noisy sounds kept on echoing within this empty space. Fang Yuan didn't budge. His battle intuition told him that the Stone Monkey King was hiding somewhere, waiting for him to show a gap before making a fatal attack. Fang Yuan knew he had already fallen into an impasse. Normal rank 2 GU masters would have already fallen apart from this fear, unable to endure this formless pressure. But Fang Yuan was still calm. This situation was also within his expectations, though its probability was very low. According to logic, the Stone Monkey King should also possess the Stone Monkey's habits and be reluctant to leave its home. But for some reason, this Stone Monkey King was hell-bent on chasing and killing Fang Yuan. If you choose to take a risk, you need to be willing to risk your life. Fang Yuan's eyes flashed with a cold light. He then took off his upper garment. Chapter 116. Chapter 116. Killing the Monkey King and getting new GU. 11% primeval essence. This means 2 moonblades or sustain the Monkey King's sneak attack twice. Relying solely on the Moonglow GU or White Jade GU will not do. My only chance is the instant where the Monkey King attacks me. I have to grasp the opportunity and shoot the moonblade, instantly killing it. Fang Yuan's thoughts sparked like flint, thinking of the most optimum strategy. Stone monkeys did not have outstanding defense, and since the Monkey King chose a sneak attack approach, it revealed that defense was its weakness. One moonblade could slaughter 5 or 6 Jade-Eye stone monkeys. Even if it couldn't kill the Monkey King, it can still heavily injure it. But do not think that this is easy. Getting to this point is difficult. Even if a group of GU masters came, without a stealth removal type GU they would still lose their lives. This monkey is cunning, choosing not to attack. Is it waiting for my primeval essence to be used up? Never mind, I shall trust the spring-autumn cicada once and bet on this chance. Fang Yuan instantly decided, his eyes shining with a cold and ruthless light. He stood on the spot, both hands hanging beside him, holding the collar of his shirt. At the same time, he closed his eyes, only leaving a slit of visibility. What is more shocking is that he removed the defense of the White Jade GU. The expenditure of the primeval essence in his aperture finally stopped. At the same time, he was no longer under the protection of the White Jade light. The rock forest continued to reverb with the cries and anguish of the monkeys, but Fang Yuan could feel that these noises were getting closer and closer to himself. A type of calmness enveloped his heart and mind. He was silently waiting for the Stone Monkey King's attack. When it attacks, that is when the match is decided. Waiting, waiting, Suddenly, the spring-autumn cicada vibrated in the aperture. Pew! The very next moment, Fang Yuan heard an explosion and the Stone Monkey King appeared on his left. White Jade Gu. Fang Yuan's eyes shone with brilliance as the white jade light covered his entire body. Bam! The Stone Monkey King hit Fang Yuan's body with a strong force, almost causing him to topple, his primeval essence dropping by 5%, only left with the other half. Seeing that his attack did not finish Fang Yuan off, the Stone Monkey King tried to escape. Fang Yuan had no time to counterattack, but it was enough for him to flick his upper shirt. Suddenly, he felt that there was someone on his upper shirt, tugging towards the outside direction. The shirt was not made of steel, and to prevent it from tearing, Fang Yuan let go of both hands, seeing the floating shirt fly around the place at a shocking speed. Now, Fang Yuan's eyes shone with cold light as the battle's outcome would be decided with this moonblade, his heart cold and calm as ice. The Monkey King was after all a wild beast, and after having its face covered by a shirt, it flew into a panic. It emitted a shrill scream, calling its stone monkeys to help. At the same time the shirt continued to move around, changing directions and going all over the place. An eerie blue moonblade flew out and hit the Stone Monkey King. The Monkey King cried in pain as its camouflage was exposed. Its appearance was the same as a normal stone monkey, but its body size was 3 times bigger, and at the same time its eyes shone with a bloody red light. A long and deep wound stretched from its chest to its left leg, blood continuing to pour from it. Although not dead, it had already suffered a heavy injury, and the aura of death permeated its entire body. It covered its wound in shock, going invisible again. Fang Yuan's upper shirt was cut open by his moonblade, falling onto the ground. But the blood traces exposed the Monkey King, and it hurriedly retreated, no longer having the idea of killing Fang Yuan. With such a grave injury, if it did not deal with it, it would lose its life. At this time, Fang Yuan also retreated to the rock door. After activating the moonblade, his aperture only had a little bit of primeval essence left, and his battle strength dropped drastically. Although it looked like a draw, Fang Yuan had won. The Monkey King's injury could not be recovered shortly. The more blood it lost, the weaker it felt. But Fang Yuan could use the primeval stones to recover his primeval essence and recover his battle strength. Even without a stealth removal type GU, nor a wide area attack method, with his rich fighting experience and the will of steel in the face of danger, Fang Yuan could beat the strong in a weaker state. Monkey, fox, bear, 1. These wild beasts have extraordinary intelligence compared to ordinary wild beasts, and are more cunning. Because of this, they lack the wild courage and often retreat while injured. If it were a wild boar or bull, they would go into a frenzy while injured. This Monkey King seems to only have 1 GU worm. Although the GU worm could grant stealth, it cannot hide blood traces, and if my guess is correct, it should be the rank 1 stealth rock GU. Fang Yuan pondered in his heart, and relying on his memories, the Monkey King had no more secrets in front of him. The results has been decided. Fang Yuan returned to the rock room, closing the door and replenishing his primeval essence. A moment later, his primeval essence went back to its peak state, and Fang Yuan opened the rock door, being in the rock forest once again. The rock forest was still a mess, but better than before. After this chaos, the entire rock forest's forces will be reset. The stone monkeys will relocate and regroup, and the roaming and isolated stone monkeys form into new monkey gangs. The path that I painstakingly created would thus vanish. Fang Yuan's heart sank. He needed to kill the Stone Monkey King before this path is completely gone. If not, opening this path would expend much of his time again, and by the time he got to the center again, the Monkey King would have completely healed. He shall chase after and annihilate lingering enemies with bravery, rather than be easily contented with fame and compliments like Shang Yu too. Fang Yuan trailed along the opened path, invading the rock forest. The stone monkeys who appeared in his way were all exterminated. 15 minutes later, he appeared at the central pillar once again. The Stone Monkey King laid on the ground. It had turned into a statue and was already dead. A jade-eye stone monkey was stepping on its corpse, screaming about. Replacing the title of king, with the death of the former king, a new king takes its place. Regardless of the beast group or human society, this was the cruel elimination system. Saved some effort of mine. Fang Yuan slowly got closer. At this moment, a GU worm slowly floated from the corpse of the Stone Monkey King, flying towards the new king. Moonglow GU. Fang Yuan shot out a moonblade just in time, chasing away the new Stone Monkey King, then walking up and grabbing the GU worm. This GU looked ordinary like a gray rock, with an uneven surface that was not even squarish nor spherical. If this GU was thrown on the road, no one would notice it based on appearance. But in reality, it was the essence of a rock, a natural GU nurtured by Mother Nature. It seemed like an inanimate object, a rock. But in fact, it was the real deal, a living being with its own consciousness and thought. As Fang Yuan predicted, it was the stealth rock GU. Grabbed by Fang Yuan, it desperately struggled, trying to be free of his demonic grasp. Spring-autumn cicada, Fang Yuan called in his mind, and the spring-autumn cicada appeared in his aperture, leaking a trace of its aura. The stealth rock GU instantly went dead, not daring to struggle, like a mouse meeting a cat. Fang Yuan's red primeval essence activated and instantly refined it. Another GU in the bag. The stealth rock GU was kept in the aperture and sunk to the bottom of the primeval sea, side by side with the white jade GU. The stone monkey watched helplessly at the side, and on seeing Fang Yuan keep the stealth rock GU into his body, it frantically jumped about, screaming incoherently. It had just gotten the new position, so not many monkeys obeyed it. With another moonblade, Fang Yuan took a few more monkey lives. Those that gathered around their new king instantly dispersed. The new stone monkey king gnawed its teeth at Fang Yuan. Scram! Fang Yuan stared at it, saying a word, with his expression cold as ice. The monkey king shuddered, feeling the intense killing intent from Fang Yuan. It stared at Fang Yuan blankly before gulping and turning around to escape, showing its superior intelligence compared to wild beasts. Fang Yuan chased these stone monkeys away and ignored them, getting to the bottom of the rock pillar as soon as he could. As he got close, he found a cave below the rock pillar. The cave was not big, and some rock stairs extended downwards into the darkness. Fang Yuan had no investigative GU worm, so he could not tell what was down there. With the situation unclear, Fang Yuan did not enter the cavern and walk down the stairs. He had barged his way in earlier, and his body condition was not at its prime. Furthermore, the chaos in the rock forest was disappearing and was stabilizing. He had spent much effort and time to open the path, but many stone monkeys were starting to reside in the pillars along the way. Haste brings no success. Now that I have found the inheritance clue, I have achieved my goal. It is time to return. Fang Yuan controlled the urge to investigate, and returned via the same route. On the way, the pressure intensified, but eventually, he endured the pressure as he was chased by hundreds of monkeys, tragically rushing out of the rock forest. Time passed quickly, and summer replaced spring. Unknowingly it was the scorching summer again already. Fang Yuan spent every second of his time cultivating diligently. Using the red steel relic GU, he instantly caught up to Fang Zheng's cultivating speed. He did not have a special GU that could hide his middle stage aura. After killing the Monkey King and obtaining the Stealth Rock GU, a day later, his cultivation level was exposed. The clansman only knew then that he was the one who obtained the red steel relic GU, it was actually Fang Yuan. At the same time, he intentionally revealed the Black Boar GU. Fang Yuan sold such a huge amount of assets to get the Black Boar GU and red steel relic GU. Many people could not understand his thoughts, calling him a fool, dumbass, maniac, and short-sighted, as they became his new nicknames. With a rise in attention, Fang Yuan had to reduce the number of times he ventured into the Flower Wine Monk's inheritance. He continued to nurture his aperture as he steadily moved towards rank 2 upper stage, while collecting the ingredients to fuse the liquor worm as well as the stealth rock GU. At the same time, he used the vitality leaf to earn primeval stones, sustaining his cultivation. July, the start of autumn. At the foot of the mountain near the village, a wild rank 5 GU suddenly appeared, causing a huge tremor at GUU village. 1. Bei, a legendary wolf in Chinese mythology. 2. Shang Yu, Qing dynasty conqueror. Chapter 117. Chapter 117, Bitter Shell Wine and River Swallowing Toad. A solemn and serious atmosphere filled the conference hall. A group of elders silently sat on their seats, their faces were either indifferent, gloomy or serious. Clan head Gu Bo was sitting on the main seat, his gaze also filled with unconcealed worry. 3 days ago, a river-swallowing toad appeared near the village by the foot of the mountain. This toad flowed along with the Huanglong River and accidentally reached here. Right now, it is blocking up a river channel and sleeping there. If we ignore it, the village will constantly be in danger. So I would like to ask the elders if you have any good ideas to drive this toad away. The elders looked at each other. For a moment, no one spoke. River swallowing toad was a rank 5 GU, it had an enormous might and could spit out a river. If this was not handled properly and it was provoked, over half of the Qingmao mountain could be submerged with water and the whole village would be destroyed. After a long silence, Gu Kai Lian spoke, "The situation is grave, and we need to resolve this as quickly as possible. If this news gets leaked, we can't say for sure if those with evil intentions might not secretly go and intentionally provoke this river-swallowing toad to entrap our Gu clan." Elder Kai Lian is right. Gu Mo Chen nodded in agreement. Although he and Gu Kai Lian were political enemies, but at such a critical time for the village, he let go of his past prejudices. He continued speaking after a moment, "There is another more serious problem. If the river-swallowing toad floods the Qingmao mountain, the wolf lairs will be submerged, and for their survival, the wolf hordes will move up the mountain. At that time, the wolf tide will break out before its time. And we will have to fight with countless wild beasts to fight for the space at the top." The elders' complexion turned pale when they heard this. Gu Bo spoke with heavy tone, "Everyone, don't forget the foundation of our village. The first-generation ancestor set up the village in this place because of the underground spirit spring. If Qingmao Mountain gets flooded, this spirit spring might also be destroyed. What should we do? Sigh. Even if we withstand the beast tides and survive at the mountaintop. After the flood subsides, the spirit spring will have disappeared, many beasts will have died, our surroundings will turn to a wasteland, and we will be lacking cultivation resources. If we are to die, then why not ask help from Shang and Bai villages? We are 3 boats tied with 1 rope, I don't believe they won't help." The elders whispered to one another with panic hidden inside. Some had already started thinking of asking for reinforcements. "It is too premature to ask for help now." Gu Bo shook his head and denied this idea immediately. "It is not the most challenging period now. When the first-generation ancestor had just established the village, a rank 5 blood river python attacked the village, but the first-generation clan had killed it. Compared to the blood river python, the river-swallowing toad is just so much more adorable. It has a warm temperament and is harmless to ordinary people. Only if it senses the aura of other Gu will it be alert. If it receives serious injuries, it will be angered and spit out a river. By chance, I heard the previous clan head talk of a rumor about the river-swallowing toad." Gu Bo's composed and calm voice resounded within the conference hall. The group of elders listened attentively, their nervous and panicked expressions eased up. He is really worthy of being the clan head. He calmed their hearts with just his words. Gu Yaoji sensed the change in the atmosphere. She gave a profound look at Gu Bo and praised him inwardly. If we follow what clan head said just now, chasing away the river-swallowing toad wouldn't be a difficult thing, an elder spoke. We can't say that. Gu Bo shook his head, these are only rumors, I haven't personally seen it or even put it to use. The important thing is that we can't be careless. I suggest we first send a group of Gu masters to test it. All the elders agreed. Gu Kai Lian spoke, then how about I send a member of my Kai family? If he can't do it, then no one among our clan might be able to do it. Everyone knew who Kai Lian was speaking of, and they approved of it one after another. Clan head Gu Bo smiled, since it is so, then we shall just assign it to the Kai Shan group. It was early autumn, the weather was gradually turning cool. On a table by the window of the tavern, Feng Yuan was sitting alone, calmly tasting some wine. The tavern shopkeeper was standing beside him, bowing his head. "Shopkeeper, is there progress on the matter regarding bitter shell wine that I asked you to look into a few days ago?" Feng Yuan asked. Feng Yuan was lacking a bitter wine for the liquor worm fusion. However, bitter wines were difficult to find, and because of the matter regarding the red steel relic Gu, people had been focusing on him. Wherever he went, people would point him out. Thus, it was not easy to make inquiries of bitter wines. The disturbance had settled down only recently, and maybe because extreme sorrow turns into joy, Feng Yuan had accidentally found a clue regarding the bitter wine. The old shopkeeper promptly replied, "Young master, the bitter shell wine you wanted me to look into, someone had drunk it in Bai village. The raw material of this wine is a type of conch found in deep ponds. This type of conch is completely black, with circles of white lines on its shell resembling a tree's growth rings. We call it a bitter shell. Normal conches can form pearls. The bitter shell swallows the sands and stones in the water, dissolving them and forming bitter water instead. Someone pried open its shell and obtained this bitter water, using it to brew wine, making the bitter shell wine. Its taste is very unique, bitter and fragrant." Feng Yuan slightly raised his brows upon hearing this. "Does that mean Bai village has this bitter shell wine?" The shopkeeper hurriedly bent down. "I don't dare to guarantee it, I have only heard people talking about it occasionally. However, the truth is Bai village is famous for its white grain liquid. This wine along with our clan's green bamboo wine and Shang village's bear gall wine are called the 3 wines of Qingmao. Bitter shell wine. I think even if the Bai village possesses it, there wouldn't be much. Even if there is little, I have to find it, Fang Yuan said in his mind. But this matter was troublesome. Bai village had been gradually showing signs of coming to emergence these years, starting to shake the Guu village's position as the overlord. If Fang Yuan wanted to enter the Bai village without permission, the patrolling Bai village's Guu masters might kill him before he even sees the village gate. Even if it was so, Fang Yuan still wanted to attempt it. After all, getting this bitter shell wine was more reasonable than the green eye wine that was immeasurably far away. As he broke away from his contemplations, Fang Yuan found that the old shopkeeper was still standing beside him. He waved his hand. All right, you can leave, there is nothing for you here. The old man didn't leave, his face revealed hesitation, not speaking out what he was about to say. He finally summoned his courage. Young master, could you please take back this tavern again? All the waiters and I want to work for you. You don't know that when the old landlord came back, he deducted most of our wages. With such little primeval stones each month, it is really difficult for us to support our families. Fang Yuan shook his head, his face without any expression. I have already sold this tavern to him. I can't take it back according to the contract. Moreover, I don't want to engage in this tavern business. You can leave now. But, young landlord, the old man still didn't move. Fang Yuan frowned in annoyance. Remember, I am no longer your landlord. He had previously increased their salaries, only to arouse their passion for their work. It was all for himself. However, these people mistook it for his tolerance and wanted to push their luck. Right now, by selling the vitality leaves, he could only fulfill his own needs. On top of that, he was feeling vexed due to the bitter wine. So why would he take back the tavern for these people? But young landlord, we really can't keep on living like this. Please show mercy and have pity on us. The shopkeeper knelt on the ground and implored. The sound immediately attracted the surrounding guests. Fang Yuan laughed coldly. He picked up a wine jar from the table and smashed it on the shopkeeper's head. Kachak. The jar shattered, the wine splashed all around and blood flowed from the old man's head. Did you think I won't dare to kill you? You tactless fool, get lost. Cold light flashed out from Fang Yuan's eyes. The old shopkeeper's whole body trembled from this killing intent. He was startled and hurriedly left. No matter which world, there will always be a group of weak people who will brazenly and indiscreetly ask charity from the strong. As if helping them was the manner of the strong and not helping them was wrong. The weak should have the manners of the weak. They should either resign to their fate and act like slaves or try hard while keeping a low profile. The strong helped the weak only as a charity when they were in a good mood. The weak refused to work hard, shamelessly begging from the strong, and even demanding definite results, acting like a leech. They deserve getting rejected. People who were content with being weak, who don't put their own effort and only think of begging from the strong, simply aren't deserving of sympathy. Shopkeeper, quick, bandage the wounds. The waiters hurriedly surrounded the old man whose face was covered with blood. The old shopkeeper was only a mortal, it wouldn't be a problem even if he was killed on the spot. Such an ending took away the interest of the surrounding guests. They turned back and continued with their discussions. Do you know, something big happened recently? Are you talking about that river-swallowing toad? Right now, who wouldn't know of this? This is a rank 5 GU, if it isn't dealt properly, the village might fall into crisis. It is said that this river-swallowing toad's food is water. When it is hungry, it opens up its large mouth and directly sucks a river in. If it is angered, it can release the water into the Qingmao mountain. Its power is extremely horrifying. We might die. Then what should we do? Sigh, we just have to see how the clan's higher-ups will deal with it. After all, we can't escape. Where can we escape to? Bewilderment and confusion pervaded the air in the tavern. River-swallowing toad. Fang Yuan inwardly smiled when he heard this. Fear was infectious, it increased the more it is spread. Actually, the river-swallowing toad was very gentle and was not dreadful. Its natural disposition was to sleep and people would often see it flowing with the river. The toad would lie down on the water surface with their white bellies facing up, and sleep soundly. When it wakes up, it would swallow the river water up to its fill and return back to sleep. They had no interest towards fighting and killing. If they meet an enemy, their first reaction would be to flee. Only if they fall into an impasse and couldn't escape will they make fierce counterattacks. They were very powerful and could release torrential river from their mouths, engulfing the lands instantly and turning them to marsh. This river-swallowing toad probably fell asleep. then drifted along the Huanglong River and accidentally entered a tributary, reaching the foot of the Qingmao Mountain. Fang Yuan guessed the truth. 1. Huanglong River, the name means Yellow Dragon River. Chapter 118. Chapter 118. Legend of the River Swallowing Toad. It is said that every single river swallowing toad's stomach carries a river. Fang Yuan did not use the river swallowing toad in his previous life, but he has a strong impression of this Gu, because a one person. A normal person, a family servant. Around 200 years later in his previous life, a very special Gu master will appear, Zhang Fan. His existence shocked numerous Gu masters, and his story would be spread around by the mortals. Once he appeared, he became a legend. His entire success was attributed to a river-swallowing toad. Zhang Fan was a mere family servant, single-handedly taking care of a fishery for his master. One day, a river-swallowing toad arrived at the coast with its belly side up, lying in the water, asleep the entire time. Zhang Fan was initially scared and shocked, but slowly, he felt that this toad was dead. Why was it not moving at all? The toad corpse blocked the upflow of the river water, and this caused many problems for Zhang Fan, who was taking care of the fishery. Zhang Fan tried many different methods and ways to move this toad corpse away. But he was just a mere mortal. How could he move something as heavy as the river-swallowing toad? His master was stingy and cruel, and if he could not meet the monthly quota, his head will be decapitated. Zhang Fan did not dare to report it, as someone not too long ago did not manage to fulfill his quota and reported it with a proper reason, but ended up getting killed on the spot. Seeing that the due date was getting closer, and the corpse still remained there blocking the water, it greatly affected his revenue. Gradually, Zhang Fan became more frightened, and his temper became more abusive and frustrated. Although he knew that he could not move this corpse away, he would still go to it every day, to punch and kick the toad corpse, crying and making a din. Letting go of all the fear and anger he had in the face of death. But one day, the river-swallowing toad woke up, and with its half-opened eyes, stared at Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan's legs went soft from the shock. The river-swallowing toad was half asleep and half awake, but it still laid there like it was a corpse. After some time, Zhang Fan regained his composure. He was not afraid. He was going to die anyway. What is there to be afraid of? He climbed to the top of the river-swallowing toad's belly, and lied down face up. Staring at the sky, Toad, oh Toad. You are the same as me, with only one last breath left in you, you're about to die too, huh? He did not know about the characteristics of the river-swallowing toad. Looking at its half-dead state, he thought that it was going to die. After saying so, Zhang Fan's face flooded with tears. The river-swallowing toad squinted its eyes, listening to Zhang Fan's words while staring at the sky. For the next few days, he continued to lie on the river-swallowing toad's white and soft belly, crying while talking, complaining about the pain and the repressed feelings of a mortal. Finally, the deadline was here. The person in charge came down from the village to the fishery to collect the fish. Where could Zhang Fan find fish to meet the quota? Left with no choice, he could only give an excuse that he needed to do some packing, and ran to the river-swallowing toad to bid farewell. He patted the river-swallowing toad's belly. Old toad, to think that I'm going to die first. It must be affinity that led to me knowing you. I hope that in your remaining days, you will have a better life. At this moment, the river-swallowing toad started move. Zhang Fan was taken aback. Seeing that the river-swallowing toad's actions were becoming larger, he quickly jumped off. Plop! The river-swallowing toad turned around, with its belly side down and back facing upwards. It had fully woken up. Zhang Fan's body was drenched, and on having seen this scene he became angry and stomped his foot. Old toad, oh old toad, so you can still move. Ah, you have caused my death. If you had moved a few days ago, I would not have to die. The river-swallowing toad ignored his words. It had just woken up and felt hungry. Half of its body was submerged into the water as it opened its mouth, starting to suck in the river water in order to sat its hunger. Seeing this, Zhang Fan was dumbfounded. He shockingly saw that the water level was receding, dropping at an observable pace, rapidly falling. Large amounts of river water were swallowed into the toad's belly, but its belly did not even expand a bit. It was almost like a bottomless hole. A moment later, the river-swallowing toad stopped its meal. The river water had already dropped to an extreme level, and the bedrock was exposed. If a person stood in the river, the water would only reach their knees. Zhang Fan stood at the coast, at a loss for words. The river-swallowing toad glanced at him and suddenly burped. Its stomach expanded and contracted, its mouth opening wide as it vomited out a large amount of seafood. Fish, prawn, turtle, crab, snails, eels, everything. The river-swallowing toad only ate water as its food, but did not consume these seafood, hence it vomited all of them out. At this point, it seems like it was raining seafood. In the blink of an eye, the seafood gathered into a mountain, and Zhang Fan upon seeing this, was overwhelming exhilarated. He screamed loudly, I'm saved, I'm saved. These seafood is enough for me to hand up for 3 months. Old toad, oh old toad, it is all thanks to you. He packaged those seafood, and quickly handed them to the person in charge. The person in charge was both shocked and suspicious, how could there be so much? He quickly reported it, and the GU masters in the village also found out that the water level had changed drastically. After investigating, they found out about the river-swallowing toad's existence. It was a rank 5 GU. The village fell into a panic and they formed into large groups, trying to expel the river-swallowing toad. Zhang Fan did not want the river-swallowing toad to be harmed. These days he had treated the river-swallowing toad as his only friend. He kneeled in front of the GU masters and pleaded hysterically. But why would GU masters care about a mere mortal? They kicked him aside and were about to murder him. But at this moment, the river-swallowing toad arrived. Nobody knew if it had treated Zhang Fan as its friend, or felt that being with Zhang Fan was interesting and could cure boredom. The point is, it struck. It carried Zhang Fan and vomited out a stream of river water that engulfed the whole village and drowned half the hill. This battle startled the entire southern continent. Thereafter, Zhang Fan's name spread throughout the 100,000 mountains. With the river-swallowing toad staying by his side, it meant that he owned a rank 5 GU worm. After all, even a rank 5 GU master might not have a rank 5 GU worm. Rank 5 GU masters were rare. Even in the GUU clan's history, there were only 2 people, the 1st generation clan leader and the 4th generation clan leader. But Zhang Fan did not have an awakened aperture, yet as a mere mortal he had a river-swallowing toad. His existence stunned the entire GU master world. After that, Zhang Fan built a hamlet at the village's location. He was endearing to people and sympathized with mortals, aspiring to reach equality among all people. It was a village without oppression. He became a flag, and the mortals in the surrounding villages came to him and wanted to depend on him. But eventually, he was still assassinated. With just a river-swallowing toad, it could not make him truly powerful. He was not a GU master after all, and after his death, the river-swallowing toad left. GU masters razed his hamlet to the grounds, and slaughtered the mortals who dared to oppose them. With his mortal self, Zhang Fan challenged the entire system of society, and that brought forth the rage of the GU masters. I wonder if Zhang Fan will still appear this time after my influence. After his recollection, Fang Yuan laughed. But Kai Shan could not laugh. His face was grim as he returned. The villagers at the mountain foot were waiting for the GU masters to deal with this problem. But the great GUU Kai Shan arrived and still could not solve the issue. This caused the villagers to panic, and the panic spread and reached a high point. They dragged their families, brought big and small bags, and rushed up to the village. They naturally did not dare to step inside, thus more and more villagers kneeled outside the village's doors, begging the GU masters to have mercy and let them in. In the hall, what? These lowly commoners dare to surround the main gate. Atrocious, they are getting more and more daring, kill them all. The Punishment Hall clan elder screamed. Medicine Hall's GUU Yao Ji's face was also grim. Although these lowly commoners deserve death, killing a few is enough to threaten the rest and chase the group away, but it would be like a joke for the other villages to observe. GUU Kai Lian said, the important thing now is not this. If even Kai Shan cannot wake this river-swallowing toad, who else in our clan can? It seems we have to get reinforcements. The Shang clan specializes in strength. He sighed and continued, for the safety of the clan, we should get them to do it. Even if we have to pay a price, it is worth it. These words got the consent of the other clan elders, and even clan leader GUU Bo was moved. Clan leader and the other clan elders, this junior has something to report. GUU Kai Shan had been standing in the hall, listening to the clan elders, but suddenly he bowed and spoke. GUU Bo nodded. He had an appreciative attitude towards GUU Kai Shan. Kai Shan, if you have any ideas, you might as well say it. Kai Shan asked instead, elders, to push this river-swallowing toad awake, does it really need one person's strength? GUU Bo said, according to the previous clan leader's words, the river-swallowing toad has a mild temper and loves to sleep. Even if it is awakened by someone pushing it, it would not rage. Thus, we asked you who has the greatest strength in the village to wake it. But it ended in failure. Kai Shan said, then can clan leader grant me a brute force longhorn beetle GU? With one bull's strength and my inborn strength, I would be able to push this river-swallowing toad awake. You definitely cannot use a GU worm's strength. Just as Kai Shan finished speaking, a clan elder denied his request. A GU worm's aura will invite the vigilance of the river-swallowing toad. If this causes it to feel threatened and rampage about, who would face the consequences? That's right. Gu Bo nodded. By using a GU worm, even if we wake up the toad, we cannot get its approval. It has to be a single person, using his own strength to wake it and get its approval. Gu is the spirit of heaven and earth, but it behaved more like wild beasts. Wild beasts have their territories, and roaming wild beasts when encountering the king of a territory would have a battle. The victorious takes the territory and the loser roams. The formation of a beast tide is also based on this wild beast instinct. Strong beast groups will invade and conquer neighboring land. Weaker groups would be exiled and this forms the beast tide. To chase the river-swallowing toad away, they have to abide to its habits. River-swallowing toad has a mild temperament, not enjoying conflict, and as long as the territory's beast king can be recognized, it would leave. Thus, using GU worms is a no-no. The GU worm's aura will be sensed and cause the river-swallowing toad to take unpredictable actions. Using everyone's strength was not possible too. Once there are many people, even if it is moved, the toad would not leave. That is because everyone acting together was not fair, and would not be recognized by it. Thus, the clan leader got Kai Shan to go ahead, as he had the greatest strength in the village. So that's it, I understand. Kai Shan finally understood the situation. He cupped his fists. In that case, I will recommend someone to the clan elders. He has greater strength than me. Oh, who? There's such a person. Why did we not know? Kai Shan, don't keep us waiting, quickly say it. This person is Gu Fang Yuan. Kai Shan said a name. Chapter 119. Chapter 119. This lad is stubborn, he needs more polishing. Gu Fang Yuan. The elders couldn't help but look at each other upon hearing this name. They clearly recognized this name. In fact, from the beginning, Gu Fang Yuan's name would occasionally reach their ears. Especially after the awakening ceremony, when his Gu master cultivation started, this lad had been getting restless. He frequently caused some disturbances that attracted attention. Ah, I remember him. Isn't this kid the one who sold his family assets and bought a red steel relic Gu? An elder came to realization. Gu Kai Lian and Gu Mo Chen's faces turned ugly. If Kai Shan or Mo Yan had used the red steel relic Gu, they could ascend to rank 2 peak stage and be equal to Gu Qing Shu. This would reflect towards the higher-ups, whether it was the Mo faction or Kai faction who got the relic Gu, it would be a political victory. But to think that this prodigal kid had ruined it all. Returning to the main topic, this kid is truly strong. At the arena previously, he used his bare fists to shatter Jade Skin Gu's defense and pummeled Fang Zheng down, achieving the championship, an elder recalled. This time, it was the clan head Gu Bo's turn to be embarrassed. He had especially nurtured Gu Fang Zheng, thus Fang Zheng's defeat, in some sense, was his, the clan head faction's, defeat. As long as one entered the system, anyone would be labeled with factions. There were neutral political factions, but absolutely not a person without any faction. But in terms of power, his strength shouldn't be comparable to yours, right? Kai Lian doubtfully asked Kai Shan. Kai San respectfully answered, Elders, perhaps you might not know, Fang Yuan not only bought red steel relic Gu, he also purchased a black boar Gu. These few months, he has been buying pork to nurture the black boar Gu and increase his strength. Once, I even saw him moving a huge rock in the mountain to measure his strength. I am not sure how much strength he has, but from what I have seen, his strength absolutely doesn't lose to mine. So it was like that. To think this kid, Fang Yuan, has grown to this stage. Gu Bo nodded his head. Then let's assign Fang Yuan's group to give it a try. Hearing this, the Internal Affairs Hall elder awkwardly stood up from his seat. Lord Clan Head, this Fang Yuan is a loner and hasn't joined a group. What is that supposed to mean? Gu Bo frowned. The thing is, after the first beast tide, his group was completely annihilated and the only survivor was him, alone, the Internal Affairs Hall elder replied. Even if it is so, why was he not considered during the group reorganizing? An elder curiously asked. Sigh. The Internal Affairs Hall elder gave a heavy sigh. I also urged him about this, but he didn't have any intention to join any groups. Honestly speaking, I don't approve of this kid. He is very good at goofing around. It might be that he has lost the will to fight after inheriting that inheritance. Goofing around? How can that be? He hasn't joined any groups, so how could he complete the monthly clan missions? An elder doubted. The Internal Affairs Hall elder's face sank. Every month, he receives the compulsory mission, but the results are all failure. I haven't seen records worse than his. Almost all the missions are recorded as failures. I have already tried talking with him several times, but he still wants to continue in his way, without any repenting. However, he hasn't violated the clan rules, so I can only give light punishments to this unruly and crafty kid. The elders looked at each other. They had never seen such a younger generation who didn't want to advance forward. Mission failures represented a narrower career progression within the clan. This kid has become muddled. HMPH, he is too unruly. He is destroying his own future. If I had such an indolent child, I would directly slap him to death. Enough. Gu Bo raised his hand, putting a stop to the elders' private chats. One couldn't tell if he was happy or angry. Gu Bo's gaze moved around and finally stopped on the Internal Affairs Hall elder. Send a compulsory command, let Gu Fang Yuan try his strength on River Swallowing Toad. This kid is stubborn, rebellious and unruly, he needs to be polished. If he fails, we can use this pretext to give some punishments. It will be as Lord Clan Head says. The Internal Affairs Hall elder promptly agreed. There was a racket in the tavern. Do you guys know, the clan sent the Kai Shan group to the foot of the mountain, but they ended up returning in defeat. The villagers living at the foot of the mountain are all kneeling in front of the clan's entrance, blocking the gate. HMPH, these lowly commoners don't even have a bit of knowledge. River Swallowing Toad is a rank 5 GU, do they really think they will be safe in the village? Although this was said, the air was dense with panic. These GU masters were all forcefully calming themselves. Fang Yuan listened for a short moment before no longer paying attention. This was no longer fresh news. He stood up and was about to leave when a person entered the tavern. This person was tall with a thickly built body. The upper half of his body was naked and his muscles were the color of bright red, seemingly wanting to erupt. It was Gu Kai Shan. The chatters within the tavern immediately stopped. Countless gazes landed on Kai Shan. Kai Shan ignored these gazes. He glanced around and found Fang Yuan. You were here. Under the numerous gazes, he walked in front of Fang Yuan. Let's go, the clan has already given a compulsory order. Let's head to the foot of the mountain, I will tell you the details on the way. Fang Yuan's gaze flashed. He couldn't refuse a compulsory order. Moreover, there was not much danger when facing the River Swallowing Toad, thus he agreed. Only after Fang Yuan and Kai Shan left the tavern did the racket start again in the tavern. Shopkeeper, the heavens have eyes. Look at this, such a quick karmic retribution. That is a rank 5 GU, even other Lord GU masters are helpless facing it, whereas he is so young. Isn't this just losing his life in vain? We thought young Master Fang Yuan was different from other GU masters and would empathize with us mortals' pain and sufferings. HMPH, to think he would also be of the same mold. Screw him, we wouldn't have any regrets even if he dies. Shopkeeper, you didn't suffer this wound in vain, getting a GU master's life for it is absolutely a profit. The old shopkeeper's head was bound with circles of white bandages. Right now, he continued to groan, leaning weakly against the corner. Several waiters were by his side, consoling him. The old man's eyes flashed with resentment, but his mood slightly eased up upon hearing these words. However, after a while of listening, he hypocritically berated them in a low voice. Shut your mouths, is this something we can talk of? Aren't you afraid of losing your lives if the other GU masters hear it? The waiters giggled. Shopkeeper, you are too worried. It is so noisy in the tavern, who could have heard our whisperings? They had just said this, when a GU master sitting nearest to them spoke. I heard it. The shopkeeper and the waiters' complexion changed greatly, they were extremely terrified. Lord, the old shopkeeper ignored the dizzy feeling in his head and hurriedly walked towards the GU master to ask for forgiveness. This GU master raised his hand and stopped him. You all spoke very well, I liked what you said. Fang Yuan, this bastard, even if he dies, it shouldn't be regretted. Speak more, I will give you great rewards if I like what you say. The GU master took out a primeval stone and slammed it on the table with a bang. If Fang Yuan was here, he would recognize this person. This person was that healing GU master of the previous small beast tide. Fang Yuan had used the girl this GU master sought after as a shield to cover his body. Thus, this GU master had a deep hatred towards Fang Yuan and it was irreconcilable. The waiters looked at each other. One of them with more guts started staring at the primeval stone on the table with wide eyes. The GU master's 3 companions frowned, but didn't stop him. They could only listen to the waiters scolding Fang Yuan as if they were in a competition. It was early autumn and the scenery was good. In the forests, some leaves were of dark shade and some were of light. Green leaves had started changing to yellow and yellow leaves faintly showed red. In the paddy field, fields of yellow-orange rice crops waved along with the autumn wind. In some lush vegetable fields, the vegetable leaves were fat, tender and pleasing. Fang Yuan sped all the way from the middle of the mountain, following the Kai Shan group down to the foot of the mountain where he saw the rank 5 river-swallowing toad. It was huge and resembled a small hill. It lay belly side up in the riverbed and blocked the river channel. The upstream of the river was already filled with so much water that it was almost spilling to the riverside. And there was almost no flow of the river downstream, only a shallow moist riverbed could be seen. The river-swallowing toad's belly was exquisite snow-white and was covered with a layer of luster. Its back was clear sky blue color and also had a glossy shine to it, with no warts like the ones found in common frogs and toads. It was sound asleep at this moment. But there were no sounds of snoring, it was sleeping very quietly. Sensing its aura, the 2 liquor worms in Fang Yuan's aperture curled up into a ball. The black boar goo's lively appearance seemed to have been wiped out as it flew down. The moonglow GU that resided in his right palm hid its glow. Only the spring-autumn cicada was still sleeping peacefully. Fang Yuan withdrew the moonglow GU into his aperture. As long as he didn't take the initiative to use these GU, their aura wouldn't leak out. Putting them in the aperture was very safe and reliable. Fang Yuan, it's your turn next, Kai Shan spoke from the side. He had already explained most of the details on the way. Fang Yuan also approved of this method. Of course, the simplest way was to use spring-autumn cicada. Once a rank 6 GU worm's aura leaked out, this river-swallowing toad would be frightened and immediately flee. This was also because the river-swallowing toad didn't like fighting. If it was a vicious GU like the blood river python, spring-autumn cicada's aura would instead cause it to go berserk and retaliate madly. Fang Yuan stood at the riverside, trying out to push at first. The river-swallowing toad's skin was slippery, making one feel that his strength has been nullified. In addition, it was extremely heavy, one simply couldn't even budge it. Can you do it? Kai Cheng sneered from the side. Fang Yuan ignored him and said to Kai Shan, although I have the increased strength from Black Boar GU, my strength is probably only a little more than yours. As for pushing this river-swallowing toad, it is not hopeless, but I need your help. What help? Kai Shan immediately asked. Fang Yuan slowly explained it. Kai Shan was doubtful, if we do this, wouldn't it be teaming up? Even if the river-swallowing toad wakes up, will it still acknowledge you and then willingly leave? Fang Yuan smiled, you don't have to worry about it. As long as you guys keep a distance and not let it detect you, it will be possible. After all, it is a GU, don't think it is too intelligent. Chapter 120. Chapter 120, literally effortless. At the height of autumn, the air was refreshing, and the breeze moderately flowed under the beautiful sun. The blue dome of heaven was clean and clear like a crystal. The wind blew gently, brushing Fang Yuan's appearance into motion. Looking from afar, the nearby villages had little people. Nearby, the hill-like river-swallowing toad was slumbering, blocking the river bed. Fang Yuan, who was standing at the river edge, looked like a tiny monkey beside a large elephant in comparison to this rank 5 GU. Fang Yuan's heart was calm as water, without a trace of nervousness, thinking internally, I use the white boar GU and the black boar GU to enhance my body and raise my strength, having the strength of 2 boars. Together with my own strength, I have around the strength of 5 or 6 adults. But to push this river-swallowing toad, I need to have around 2 bulls' strength. With just my current strength, it will not do. But, if I borrow the power of the tides, it's here. Swish swish swish. Fang Yuan turned his body around and saw that waves were crashing and approaching, causing a huge movement in the peaceful river water. The tides got bigger and continually crashed against the river-swallowing toad, causing the waves to fly high into the sky. Fang Yuan only stood for a while before he got drenched. He did not mind it, and began to push the river-swallowing toad with vigor. The river-swallowing toad was still dead asleep. It was originally a GU worm that lived in the rivers and sea, and to it, the force of the waves was normal and could not awaken it. With the force of endless waves, Fang Yuan tried for some time and finally managed to push the river-swallowing toad away from its original location. The riverbed was wider as the river got downstream. Along with the flow of water, it made Fang Yuan's pushing easier. After about 300 meters, the river-swallowing toad opened its sleepy eyes. A pair of deep green eyes, in its sleepy state, gradually contracted and stared at Fang Yuan, who was beside it. Fang Yuan was fearless as he matched its gaze. From its dark eerie eyes, Fang Yuan could see his own reflection. Zhang. River swallowing toad raised its head, suddenly opening its mouth and emitting a strange croak. The cry spread out and reverbed throughout Qingmao Mountain. At once, Fang Yuan could feel his ears going deaf from the ringing noise. River swallowing toad lowered its head, its mouth sucking at the river water that was approaching. Swish swish swish, the river water flowed at 10 times the original speed as it was all sucked into its stomach, and the water level could be seen decreasing at an observable pace. Fang Yuan stood beside the river swallowing toad, clearly seeing a large amount of seafood also being sent into the river swallowing toad's stomach along with the river water. Sensing the river water's change, the Kai Shan group also hurried over, and as the three observed the river swallowing toad who was ingesting water, they were stunned. What a spectacular sight, Kai Cheng observed, unable to hide his shock. You succeeded, Kai Shan looked at Fang Yuan. Seems so, Fang Yuan nodded lightly. The water level decreased until the water stopped flowing, and the river swallowing toad raised its head once again, its stomach expanding and contracting, vomiting out numerous fish, prawns, turtles etc. At once, a large amount of seafood fell onto the ground, emitting a crisp sound. A fish splashed on the ground, a turtle fell on its back confused, the crabs walked away horizontally, and then they were smashed by the falling seafood. Fang Yuan did not mind it and only looked casually, but suddenly he smelled some wine fragrance. Strange, why is there a wine smell? Kai Cheng sniffed, a face of surprise. It should be the 100-year bitter shell, the female GU master in the group said and pointed at a disc-sized broken black shell. This shell was black as ink with white round markings on it, like the rings in a tree trunk. That's right, bitter shell can turn the sand and rocks into bitter water juice. 100-year bitter shell's bitter water, after the accumulation through time, can turn into wine. Bai Clan's current clan leader loves to drink this bitter shell wine, Kai Shan added on. He needn't go into detail, Fang Yuan had already long taken up this seashell, starting to collect his bitter shell wine. Not too long ago, he was still worried about how to get this bitter shell wine, but to think it appeared in front of him like this. Truly the phrase, spending lots of effort looking for something fruitlessly, but it appears in front of you when least expected. The river swallowing toad had pretty much swallowed all the water in this river. Deep in the river bed, there had been some 100-year bitter shells buried in the soil, and because of the river swallowing toad, the shells were exposed. Fang Yuan quickly collected 6 little 100-year bitter shells. 2 of the shells were broken, but the other 4 were intact. I've finally collected the bitter wine, this way, I can start refining the 4-flavor liquor worm. This moment, Fang Yuan was overjoyed, but had no one to share the joy with. Zhang. After the river swallowing toad vomited the seafood, it croaked again, and then looked at Fang Yuan once before moving its large body to swim downstream along the river. He really succeeded, Kai Shan muttered, his heart feeling relief. He observed the river swallowing toad leaving until its shadow was completely gone, away from his vision. What, he scared it away so easily. If I knew this earlier on, we could have done it ourselves, but now we let Fang Yuan become a hero so easily. Kai Cheng pouted, his tone full of jealousy and indignance. Fang Yuan, no matter what, this time you have done a good deed, you are the GUU clan's hero. Kai Shan stared at Fang Yuan with a complicated expression. Oh, Fang Yuan replied absent-mindedly, giving a half-hearted feeling. At the same time, his gaze shone as he continued to rummage and search for 100-year bitter shells among the seafood. What hero, it was merely a title. Between praise and slander, they were all views and expressions of others onto oneself. What opinions others had of him, Fang Yuan did not give a damn. You can think all you want, I live my own life. Hero, 0, hee, I rather have a bitter shell. News of chasing away the river swallowing toad reached the village at once. Guu Bo said, good, 3 times continuously, and the solemnness in the hall was swept away at once. Only the internal affairs elder's face was complicated, he did not think well of Fang Yuan. Not too long ago, he even criticized Fang Yuan, but now that the village was in danger, Fang Yuan was the one who resolved the issue. With these 2 issues coming together, wasn't it a slap in his face? GUU Fang Yuan has the credit of chasing away the river swallowing toad, we'll make an exception to promote him to team leader and reward him 500 primeval stones. GUU Bo thought, before giving the order filled with a special meaning. In the wine tavern, what, Fang Yuan actually succeeded? Strange, he's just a newbie, how can he chase away a rank 5 GU worm? Even Kai Shan failed miserably, but he did it. The news spread, and everyone was filled with shock. Fang Yuan became the savior of our clan. This, the male GU master who had animosity with Fang Yuan, was lost for action after hearing this news. His group leader suddenly shouted, pointing at the clerks in the tavern, "You mere mortals, you dare to slander our clan's hero, you deserve execution." Even before finishing his words, he shot a moonblade. The elderly shopkeeper did not expect that such a life-threatening situation would occur, and after being hit by this moonblade on his neck, he was beheaded. "Lord, spare us." The clerks upon seeing this were first stunned but quickly kneeled on the ground, begging for mercy loudly. "Group leader, what are you doing?" The male GU master stood up. "What am I doing, huh?" His group leader moved his brows, sighing solemnly, "Times have changed, ah hi. Fang Yuan has turned into a hero suddenly, the higher-ups will pay attention to him. If words of our slander towards him spread, what do you think will happen? There are lots of detection-type GU masters around, and if someone wants to harm us and said several bad things to the clan elders, our future would be ruined." The male GU master broke out in cold sweat from fear. It was indeed like this, clan relationships ruled above all. Fang Yuan had gone and dealt with a rank 5 GU worm, risking his life to defend his clan. At the same time he was slandered and insulted by them. What mindset was this? This was ungratefulness, coldness, emotionless and utter disregard for relationships. Like history on Earth, Yu Fei fought in the battlefields, defending his country, but Qin Wei framed him as a spy in court. Although these GU masters did not go as severe as framing, but if this matter was spread out, would the higher-ups feel safe with these people around? If it was Mo Yan or Kai Chang, people with tough backgrounds, that would still be alright. But these few were people without backing. Trying to climb up the system's ladder, it was push and shove, stepping on each other. If others used this incident and attacked them, to their future, it had a destructive influence. It is still not too late to salvage the situation, we just have to express our attitudes, and outsiders won't say much. These mortals have cheap lives, so be it if they die. But they can be sacrifices for us, and this is their honor. You guys should immediately strike, each one of you must kill one each. After killing you should praise Fang Yuan and express our stand. The group leader shouted. Damn it, the male GU master cursed. Between hatred and his future, he unhesitantly chose the latter. With a moonblade, a clerk died on the spot. "Lord, please spare us." At once, all the other clerks were paralyzed on the ground, scared until they peed their pants. The male GU master did not care about them, and under everyone's watchful gaze, he pointed at these pitiful clerks righteously, shouting, "You lot deserve death." Gu Fang Yuan is a hero, and with his own strength, he defended the clan. What gave you the courage to slander him? The male GU master said this while frowning. This was his true emotion. Fang Yuan was someone he deeply hated, but he had to praise him in public. He felt a strong sense of disgust and irk for himself. "Lord, didn't you ask us?" A clerk felt feelings of injustice deeply, shouting out loudly. But he could not finish his sentence before he stopped. A moonblade went flying, splitting him in half. A bunch of lowly slaves, not only slandering Fang Yuan, but also wanting to implicate us. A female GU master struck, her expression cold as she shouted fiercely. Other GU masters seeing this, felt like they were watching a soap opera. Some smirked, some were indifferent and some continued chatting, but nobody stopped them. So what if a few mortals died? Just compensating a few family servants would do. Everyone was part of the clan, they were family. No one would interfere or pursue the matter for these outsiders, causing conflict for themselves.